Welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snidbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
Knowing like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. I am Mr. Snidbits, and with me always to my left is Black Girl Marvel and all the movie things and Mr. Marvelite. And we are here to discuss a random sampling of movies this evening. I think a couple were, one was a selection by choice via channel points. I believe that was True Grit by Mr. Marvelite. And otherwise, we're doing True Grit, Encanto, and Ghostbusters Afterlife with Batman in the future. So hopefully we'll get to see that soon. I know everybody's excited to see it. How are you guys this week?
Tired, but good.
Yep, doing well.
That seems to be the consensus.
I agree.
Tired but good.
Yeah, I am very tired. These kids, man. But yeah, why don't we get right into the movies? We do have a pre-review with Sean.
These streets.
These streets. These Real Study streets, man, they are challenging.
That was so good. I know. They are terrorists.
Why don't we take the movies as we listed them there? So we'll start with True Grit, and that was Mr. Marvelite's pick. So why don't we start out right away with Mr. Marvelite on the reason for picking True Grit, and let's get your initial reaction to this viewing.
Okay. So this was actually a recommendation based off of our conversations, because I think the discussion about Haley Steinfeld and, of course, she was recently in Hello, Ray Ray. She was recently in, Hawkeye. We've got her now as a new Kate Bishop for the MCU. It seems to definitely be like a new era for Haley Steinfeld. And of course, if you like Marvel and stuff, and seeing Florence Pugh and her together, like that was just a lot of fun. And she's a really good at this point, please. But it's like
new.
So but like everybody's talking about her with Pitch Perfect. True Grit is actually the first film that I ever encountered her with, and of course she is. Hold on, Brian, you gonna be showing off your shirt there too?
Yeah.
Hey bro.
But yeah, so it almost feels like True Grit was one of the last real Western films that have been modernized. I think after True Grit was the Magnificent Seven, and then of course the Adam Sandler Netflix show that we will not talk about. And you've got Jeff Bridges coming off of a number of things, and of course it was like a time for him as well, because I think after he did this film he did R.I.P.D. And so which is funny though, because if you kind of consider he plays the exact same character for both films.
And the same character isn't like Crazy Heart too. He was kind of just playing that character for a few years.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like he's now the old drunk dude from Lebowski, not that younger dude. But so you've got this it's obviously a remake from a previous story. You've got Haley Steinfeld as this young girl who wants to avenge her father. She goes off to hire him. He's like a marshal that she's like tasking to go into this area that to go after the man who murdered her father.
Was this your first time seeing it, Miss Marvelite?
Well, years ago. It's been a long time. Okay. So you have and it was actually my first introduction to the story as well when I first watched it back when it first came out on Blu-ray. So So for me, it was definitely I found it interesting. The pacing was a little bit different than I'm used to, and but I think it took the time to kind of like explore some of what was going on, and I like the engagement between um, Matt Damon's character, the Texas Ranger, and how it plays on all the tropes of like, the Texas Ranger can do all of these things and is
Yeah.
all this to everybody, and is so extremely conceited that this old man just kind of like schools him,
Yeah.
and it was just I thought it was a lot of fun. So my day, I thought it was an overall really good film. It may not be for everybody, which I feel like I'm going to find that out in a few minutes. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Why don't we get Lala's general impression? Just even though she only watched the first little bit, you still got a feel for the film. You got a feel for the cinematography.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Are you feeling it? You feel like you're gonna like it?
I feel like I'm going to. I feel like I'm going to like it. I feel like I'm going to like it. I feel like her character already is a lot. Just from what I've seen, she talks so much, but I realized that like she talks a lot because she's had no choice but to talk a lot. I feel like just from the
Mhm.
little bit that I've learned about like her family, just in the chunk that I've learned, that her mother like she had to be the one that did everything. Like she
Mhm.
probably was alongside her father doing everything, working alongside him, and because her mother, I think she said her mother couldn't even spell cat or something. So like
Yeah.
that just let me in on like
Oh man.
how together her mother is and how much, and she's the oldest out of what three,
I
I
think
think.
so.
I think
I
it's
think
three of them
yeah.
because it's little Frank and then Victoria then her, and so like, I think she's the oldest, and and it's a lot for her. And then on top of that too, I'm pretty sure she's mourning her father, but she hasn't had a chance to actually because of trying to find his killer and all this kind of stuff. So like I think that's
Hmm.
gonna play into it somewhere along the way. And so I think I'm gonna enjoy the film. I like Haley Steinfeld as an actress. I remember when this film came out, it got nominated for like 10 Academy Awards or something like that. Didn't win any, but it got nominated for a lot. And I love Jeff Bridges. The fact that Matt Damon spanked her, I wasn't. I was just like, okay. Um, especially since he said that like he had a thought to kiss her, and she's like 14 years old, and I was
Hmm.
just like, my guy. I was like, this is. But back then they were gross.
Yeah.
They still
One
gross now.
she
So back then it was like
and
it
she
was.
didn't let him off the hook right away either, though. She
No, she didn't.
like she was on him
She
right
was
away
like
when yeah.
immediately. She was like
Uh
both of
huh.
those options are trash, pretty much is
Yeah.
what she
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was
Right.
just like, so like she's
Mhm.
very
Uh.
quick witted. She's very like kind of snarky, which I think I was at 14.
Oh
And
yeah.
so like, you didn't know me at 14. All the
Uh
movie things.
huh.
Unagree. No, I'm playing. But all in all, I think I'm gonna like the film. I'm gonna finish it and I'll probably make a little TikTok about it or something like that. But it
There
was
you
I didn't find anything wrong in like the first 40 minutes I've seen, maybe 40 50 minutes I've
go.
seen.
Uh-huh.
Um, I felt like it was going in a great direction. Is what
And
I
it does
think.
pick up from there. Just so you know, it's
I
not.
figured, because
It's
when
it's it's
he,
like a slow burn to start off with, and it kind of gets you. You're
yeah,
more establishing with her because it's almost like she's this young girl. Nobody takes her seriously. She's having to kind of manipulate the situation to be able to get this guy to
oh,
go.
she's manipulating everything, and it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
but
But
honestly,
she's
I feel
also
like
very
she's
strong in character, which
but I
I
feel like
like.
she's
Yeah.
doing what she's seen every adult in her life do. Essentially, is pretty much just tell people what they're going to do. And if you tell people what they're going to do enough, they'll eventually do it. Like the dude
I have a good
denied her so
attorney.
many times. Like, no, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go chase
Hmm.
nobody for you. Like you're a child. I'm not going to listen. And she literally got the money, got to his face, and was like, okay, so when we leaving? When
No,
we
yeah,
going?
no. She
He's like,
learned
wait,
that
what?
you need a lawyer,
Wait,
you need money, and you need the
yep,
law behind you, need the
yep,
authority. And she learned how to garner those things
Yeah.
in some fashion, which is impressive for her
Mhm.
age,
yeah.
especially at the time.
Um,
And oh, thank you, Lady
yeah,
Crossheart,
and she
for
has
the dropping by as well as the hosting. That's
showing
very
some
cool
love.
of you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
lady.
Thank you for that.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna like it. Like I said, I like quick, fast paced dialogue. I like snarky, smart dialogue, and I'm already
Hmm.
seeing that at the beginning. And plus, they have her character say some very funny and interesting things, and she's not done by a long shot. And usually, when you have 14-year-olds, you either make them super insecure or just
Hmm.
really goofy and dumb, and she's none of that. So she's actually like the opposite of a regular 14-year-old, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying watching that. So thanks, ladies. It's a wig, by the way, but thank you, ladies.
All the movie things. What is your this time around impression of True Grit?
The same as my first impression. This is like one of my favorite movies. I mean, I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan. They have not like done me wrong. Roger Deakins shot it. I like, I preach the gospel of Roger Deakins all all the time, and um, and there's just some gorgeous. I mean, the whole courtroom scene in the beginning is awesome. Just specific ways he shot it and chose to shoot, like as we first see Rooster Cogburn from her perspective through the people, and we're slowly trying to see him, and then like as he's still talking, and that whole scene is just like basically how they introduce his character, and like you see how he navigates certain things, especially that other lawyer that was really kind of getting on him. I love the language in this film, the dialogue and the way they talk is so great. There's words that we do not use at all anymore, like the way they use those words. Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well, and that whole exchange between her and the I can't remember what his position was, but when she was trying to sell back the horses and all that, and like trying to get money, and just that whole exchange back and forth when they're like, I mean,
he said a line to her, something like that might be sand, but I was like, wait, what?
She
what
she grifted him though, like
totally.
that guy lost money on an honest transaction.
Well, the thing is, she's part of the thing is because she kind of uses this idea that because she's a child, she allows people to underestimate her, and then she's able to like just attack them with her knowledge and her language and her wit, and and so that's how she's
the whole.
Yeah, exactly. Like throughout the whole film, it's so great, and this was Haley's like kind of breakout role. And she like blew, like the first time I watched this film, I mean, I had no idea who she was, and she just like blew me away. And I mean, she carries the film. I mean, it's really all her. And you got a great you got great stuff with Matt Damon. He kind of like hops in and out throughout the film, like surprisingly, like, oh, Matt Damon's back. Talking like every time you see him too, he's mentioning something about how amazing the Rangers are, and then Rooster Cogburn's like, what are you talking about? Like,
if it wasn't the last 25 Rangers I met that didn't say they drank out of a horse's footprint, yeah,
right,
totally,
yeah. And just so, I mean, I really love this movie. There are some slow bits, but like there's also about this relationship between Maddie and Rooster Cogburn as they kind of grow this mutual respect for each other. Obviously by the end of it, you see him take care of her, and like the part. Oh man, yeah, that whole part.
I'm trying to say it, not to say it with
I know,
with like, Marvel, because it's like
I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin it for you, Lala. So you can always mute us.
Yep.
So you don't hear the end.
Right.
Okay. I mean, there's.
I read it, so I know what happens to her. I know what happens.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were trying to make sure you caught up. Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, just where he rides the horse,
So,
the horse collapses, and
or a little Blackie.
He like stabs the horse to get it going again. Like, oh my god. Yeah.
That made me mad.
Yeah, the whole thing's. I mean, yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Every
there's
actor
a reason,
is like.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But for me too, this also plays out like it's a Western, but it's also like almost like a fable in a way, because you have these like other smaller characters that are like caricatures of things. Like you have that dentist that they approach. He's almost like this, like he's like
medicine man,
medicine man kind of thing. But he's also kind of mythical in a way. I mean, he's like wearing this bear skin.
He was in Native American territory for so long. He picked up a bunch of their culture and ideas, but also brought this like Western caveman aspect to it.
Yeah,
very
totally. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. He took that body's teeth He's like, well, I'm willing to sell you the rest
Yeah.
of this body.
Okay,
back
this is
to
the kind of
you,"
thing that
you know.
I would have actually preferred if it was a choose your own adventure story and I could have just followed him. I would have. I would have been
What
like,
is up with
where's
this
he
guy?
going next? Like
Yeah,
that guy
yeah,
was
yeah.
interesting. So
Yeah. So there's a
yeah.
like there's some of that aspect to it where it's kind of like this fable, and like, you know, and like even the gang that they were chasing, like there were some like funny characters. I mean, um, like that one, there's this one guy who doesn't have any actual dialogue. He just makes like sounds, like he just makes like animal sounds, to everybody, and he's just like this crazy guy that's part of this gang, and of course you have the leader of the gang who's kind of like the only one that really has it all together.
And they have a
Um,
doctor, which I thought was
and then
interesting.
yeah, and they have this doctor, like, and then of course Josh Brolin is playing like this dumbed down kind of character. Like it's like, but you don't really know, is it an act? Because they mentioned like, oh, it's just an act for him. But then you meet him, and you're like, is it really an act, or is he really is like is he smart with some things, or and just not smart with other things? Because it seems like people really treat him like he is dumb.
Well, I think the whole
in the
point was
film,
that it was like they had this opinion of him that he was more of a mastermind than he really was.
Right?
And then you
Yeah.
see with him with the dynamic of the group and stuff, and he's kind of like
Thank you,
he's
Marley.
the doofus that did something and messed up. And
Yeah. He's kind of treated
What
like a child in a way.
what about the idea that maybe he was smarter than the average citizen, but to the outlaw he was kind of average, so
Yeah.
he seemed kind of, depending on who you were talking to, because from her perspective, this guy knew
Right.
how to.
Oh yeah.
Even from the marshal's perspective, he was he changed who he was and blended, and if he had just only killed the dog, things would be fine. Anyway.
Right. Well, and from her perspective, she felt like he was a dimwit, and she said that
Right.
throughout the film.
But she wasn't.
And
So
yeah,
that's
there was a
some,
different
again,
perspective
from
of
her
Rooster.
perspective.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So
She was much smarter than he was. Yeah.
So okay.
I mean, she was much smarter. From what I'm getting, she much smarter than most people in this film. But
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
What I'm getting.
She's amazing.
So,
Yeah.
So from my perspective, because I know one of the reasons this movie was picked was because I hadn't seen it, and we were discussing Haley, and I even had talked about how I have never seen a single John Wayne film in my entire life, and that's on purpose, just because he's never been my thing, westerns especially. There are a handful of westerns I do like, and I can put them on one hand. There are that few of them. And when the Coen brothers, for me, I love them. Don't get me wrong. I think they're phenomenal across the board, and I've watched almost every one of their movies. There are a handful I haven't. I don't think I've seen like Miller's Crossing or a few others, but that are earlier. But I did get to see Blood Simple in films class, and enjoyed kind of breaking down their style even in the early days. Love The Big Lebowski. So like there are definitely movies of theirs I love. But when their movies don't hit for me, I don't dislike them. They just kind of fall flat for me. And so this one hit that same kind of I found so many things about it that I liked, but not so many that I felt like it was so compelling I would go back to it. I don't know if that makes sense. And I think it's ultimately because it's a Western, and I don't know what that is. Because I thought the acting was phenomenal. I think the direction and the cinematography is beautiful. The country they chose to shoot in, it was a great location. The dialogue is witty. The characters are compelling. Like I could tell you all these positive things, and yet I still was like, all right, that was okay. And I don't know what that is. It's weird. But I'm not trying to trash the film. I think anybody who likes Westerns would absolutely love this film. I think that I understand the genre well enough to know that this hits all the notes. This is a good remake from what I've heard. But for myself, it's just still, I never cared. I just never, I don't know what that is. But I just wanted to be upfront about it, because I'm not trying to trash it, because I don't want to, it's not my goal here with any of the films tonight. Some movies I'm like, yeah, I'm going to trash that film. But this isn't one of them. Cogburn's character, I think, was my least favorite. I thought that he was okay, but I was compelled actually more by the Barry Pepper character. I did not expect to see Barry Pepper in this movie and see that gang. And again, I almost would have rather followed his gang to get a bit more of a story I enjoyed. Anyway, I digress. Why don't we open it up and we can talk generally about the themes or the film in general, and why you guys like it. Maybe you guys can pull me over to why westerns are everybody's like either right up front favorite or secret favorite, I guess.
I'm just
Well,
gonna relax
I'll
for
go ahead and
this
start
one.
this off and say real quick, it's not. Um, there was a time in this country where I think that westerns were like the big thing. I think that there's also in a lot of cases there's a lot of a deceptive um storytelling in westerns. One, because it's misrepresenting an entire group of people. Especially if you look at the original westerns, you've got the Native Americans were savages. They were reckless and dangerous, and the white man was just protecting themselves. And so in a lot of cases, westerns were pushing this propaganda, especially in the early, times of movies and television. I think Bonanza was a little bit better about doing that, like with the TV show. But then it still had some things. You have this. It's kind of like what's the movie I'm thinking of right now? Um, there was a western. I can't think of the name of it at the moment, but
Who's in it?
there
We're movie
it's like
people. Let's figure it out.
I can't even I honestly cannot even think. I remember they were running from, oh no, I'm sorry, 310 to Yuma.
Okay. The
And
original or
you've
the
got,
remake?
Russell Crowe,
The remake.
the remake, the Russell Crowe, Christian Bale. You have like three groups of individuals that are always represented in these films. Well, maybe four if you consider where it's being done in the Western. You have the savage natives that they always reference. You've got the working Asians, or they would just call them the Oriental people, which again was
Yeah.
highly offensive. And then you also have the rebellious or the pillaging Mexicans, and
Mhm.
that's like where we at in our country with the way people view different types of people. I think some of it could also have been based off of, like, Native Americans, or the view of Native Americans and Mexicans and everybody else. And so I really feel like westerns got played out too much, and I think it also with this propaganda. And when people started realizing that that wasn't the real story, it became a little bit different. That's why you have movies like the remake of the Magnificent Seven with Chris Pratt and all of them, where
Mhm.
you had people from different groups, and even within themselves, they struggled with racial barriers where
Yeah.
uh,
Well, that
if an
was directed by
African
Antoine
character,
Fuqua, also.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have this thing where it's like westerns died away because they had so many strong stereotypes, and then it looked like back in like the 2000s you had like this resurgence of where
Yeah.
people were trying to bring westerns back. True Grit, again 310 to Yuma.
Mhm.
You also even have like the point where they did Daniel Craig with Cowboys versus Aliens. So let's not hate on Native Americans, let's hate on you know
Aliens.
space
Aliens.
aliens.
Wait a minute.
It's
Right.
like,
It's an allegory.
so
It's the
I
same
think,
idea.
which is why I think you kind of don't see a
Right.
lot of like Western films really being pushed rightly.
Well, I think
I think you had,
Tombstone's
what was it?
success
How?
in the '90s definitely resurged. Like that movie is
Yeah.
universally
I mean,
loved.
there's also Young
Yeah,
Guns.
And Young Guns. That's
Young
another
Guns
good
is
one.
also a pretty popular one. But also to like Mr. Marvel's point, another another thing from a, like a marketing and like just box office perspective, the market was flooded with westerns back then, and that's one of the reasons like it just kind of died down. And some people have compared like superhero films and this time we're in now to the western, and that they think like the market's going to get saturated with these, and then eventually it's going to kind of falter. But it doesn't seem to be going that way now, because like westerns were just like,
They raged like to
I
other
think the
countries
films
even.
have lasted,
Like it
right,
became a
yeah.
yeah.
thing.
And but like westerns, yeah, westerns were just so, there were
That
just so many westerns out there that for a short amount of time too, that that's another reason why they kind of died down.
Monster
People just
movies
didn't
did
want
the
to see them
same thing in
anymore.
the '30s. So they this
so
isn't it's kind of like
Right.
the flow of film.
No, totally. It's always cyclical. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Ray makes a point that I was thinking in my head while you guys were talking is that she typed it. She said my issue with westerns have a specific cadence and energy, and it's been hard for that for many of them to get it right, so they fall flat. But I agree. But also, I feel like that cadence and that energy hits people differently, especially at different times,
Hmm.
right? Like
Mhm.
westerns were really big when people like kind of grew up around it or grew up around like their dad telling them stories or maybe actually grew up in a small town that resembled this like Western like feel or however it is. Nowadays, we're so modern that like Westerns just don't touch us the same because we might, as movie watchers, we might enjoy like the cadence in which they speak or like the words that they use, and it's interesting. But somebody else will be like, "This is dumb. Turn the channel. I don't want to watch it." You know what I mean? Like they won't. It won't last long, which is why I think a lot of these movies have died out. But a lot of movies always come back around, just like the Ridley Scott movie, The Last Duel. The era in which that takes place, there was a time in the '90s where like pretty much every movie took
Yeah.
place in like a medievally type of
Yeah, even
time,
the sci-fi
and
movies
it
like
was the
Timeline, they
theme,
had to take it back to that time.
you know.
Oh
So
yeah.
they would be like around that time, and so I feel like everything in its place type of thing. Like you're gonna get some people who loves it, and then you're gonna get, and even in TV shows, like for a long time, like the Xena and the Hercules and the Legend of the Seeker, like these things were like somebody in the woods. That's what like '90s TV shows was
Well, yeah.
like.
I mean,
You know,
think
like
about early 2000s. It was like Gladiator, and then you had like Mel Gibson in like The Patriot and things like that. Like you had
hmm
these films that were era pieces, and Ridley Scott even got into that, and it just kind of. I think what happens is when somebody comes out with something that was good, then everyone decided that they were going to try to match that energy and do those things. And it's just like what Ray said. It just it fell flat, and then it just tapered off. I think if they were able to produce good westerns and it wasn't just like a big hype, like let's say for Marvel films, like you have like Marvel movies and you have DC, and those are the two. And then you have like these fringe groups that make these like knockoff superhero films that they try to build up and be good. You saw it like when X-Men and when Spider-Man and stuff came out, they did that's the spoof movie, superhero movie, and things
hmm
like that. It was like they put it off because it was popular at the time, not understanding that it could be something more than that. It was a genre, not just a trend. So
So,
Right.
a movie I started watching after True Grit, just because I had been hearing so many things over the last week about it, was The Harder They Fall, which is another Western. But this Western
Mhm.
is turned completely over on itself and much more stylized and much more like a '70s. Uh, um, what is my brain not going to work tonight? Of course it's not. Much more of a '70s style film, very bloody. And so far, I'm really enjoying it, and I think I probably will. But I don't know. For me, maybe it's because I just am a city kid. I've never enjoyed the country. I've never enjoyed horses or anything along those lines.
hmm
And even that era in
I
American
feel like that can
history,
influence.
I mean,
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
that can
you
influence a
really
lot. So
you really need that to like enjoy
No,
the
it's
film?
weird.
Like,
Like, okay, so you know that
possibly with
true.
him. So
Uh, There Will Be Blood is one of my favorite movies, and it takes place in a similar
right.
era, but it's actually weirdly like 10 years later, right at the beginning of the Industrial
Hmm.
Revolution. And
Right.
for whatever
Yeah.
reason, even though it's like time period, it's the same. Okay, let me put it this way: if you were to take
Mm.
this exact same story and modernize it, and put the motorcycle in instead of a horse or whatever, I probably would
Right.
really
I
dig on
mean,
this film. I don't know what
so
that
I
is
mean they.
like.
so
I
did
mean
you
they
like
kind of
Wild Wild
they.
West?
That's
No, but
funny.
they kind of
Yes,
did though.
but not, but I did. Well,
They
I
kind of
hear what you're
did.
Right.
saying.
Like
Right.
if you, I feel like Leon the Professional is kind of this movie, just a little different. You know what I mean? Like she's just a little younger. Like Natalie Portman's character is a little bit younger. I feel like it's like along the same lines a little bit, just a western. And she's just a little more quicker than Matilda. But other than that, it's kind of like the
And
same. Like
Leon was
she
more
wants,
sober.
yeah. But that's all. I
But
mean,
he
to
drank
me,
his milk.
if I'm really
I
gonna
don't I
like,
don't really see them as the same. I
No,
mean,
it's basically a
there's
story
a
about a
there's a
girl
similar
looking for
relationship.
revenge and
no,
using a
I'm not saying
guy
they're the
that
same. I'm
has
just saying like
skills.
they're. I
Like
mean, they're
that's about it.
similar. I'm saying
Yeah,
they're similar. That's pretty
Right.
much it. I'm just saying that like they're just similar. Like that plot line has been done throughout time a
sure,
lot.
sure.
Where like somebody's going back for revenge. It's just rare that it's
I
like a
just
14
I
year old
even
or
mean
like
the
a
actors and the
child.
Right.
language. Even bring it. I don't know. It would be weird, but Romeo and Juliet it for me, like Boz
I
Luhrmann, and
just
just
feel
or
like I
like
just
or
feel
like
like
a
you
Knight's
Right.
don't
Tale
like
almost.
westerns.
there you go. Our
You don't
Knight's
like
Like a
Tale.
Knight's
westerns.
Tale.
Like that's
Yeah.
just
I don't know. I don't.
I feel like
That's
you
just
don't
for
like
me. I don't know.
Westerns, and that's okay.
I'm weird about it,
Yeah,
and I
just like you
try.
don't
I
like them.
still will try. If you guys give me movies to watch, I'm gonna watch them, and I'm gonna give them a
Ooh, what if it
genuine
was
shot.
animated? Would you think you like it more if it was an animated Western?
No, probably less.
American
Probably a
Tail.
lot less.
Rooster Goes
See,
West.
American Tail was the music and the like. I
I
don't
would
know.
like that.
The music brought me into that,
I
and
like
it was
that.
about a mouse who was really cute. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
It's
It's
funny
weird.
because,
I
like,
wanted to like this
I
movie.
was born in the city too, but I don't know. So
No, but like
that's
I
why
had
have a
I've had an
disconnect with, like,
aversion to the country. My parents forced me to live in the country for a while, even though I was a city kid, and so I think I put up an even larger wall and barrier to that. So like I understand,
Right.
but I just
See, I was a city kid and I live in the country and I hate it. I hate everything about it. My wife is happy I'm not.
That's
we
funny.
got a
Uh-oh.
redemption. What was the movie?
I'm assuming Feifel goes west.
Is that what? Fightful Unchained? That would
Fightful
be such a great.
Unchained.
That would be a
That would
great
be.
movie.
Unchained. Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be
Now
great?
again,
Feifel
there's another
Unchained?
Western
Anybody?
I thoroughly enjoy, and I don't even think Tarantino's like the best ever, but Django
I
Unchained
think
is
it's
a great
because
Western.
I think you like westerns that aren't necessarily
That aren't westerns.
Right.
I think that's what you like. I think if it's like a hardcore like actual western, you're like, yeah, no thank you. But if it takes the western theme and spins it, you're
Sure.
like, this is pretty
Or a
daggone good.
subgenre. Like, so somebody mentioned Firefly, or Captain Salty Dog mentioned Firefly. I absolutely adore Firefly. I've watched it dozens of times.
I love Firefly.
And it's because they took sci-fi, which is my favorite genre, and slapped my least favorite genre on it, and it worked. Like, I was fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Hateful Eight is another one I like. See, I'm again not the typical. It doesn't hit any of the typical notes of a western, and that's what I said. Like, I understand a western. I just don't. I don't. I'll stop. I don't. I'm not trying to bash this movie.
Fine, you don't like
It's a good movie. I just didn't like it.
I like the remake of Magnificent Seven. I will say that.
So I still haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Oh.
What was the movie that was picked?
Yeah.
Yeah, what movie? Mo Silverbrand. What?
He clicked it by mistake. He was just responding. He didn't mean to.
Oh, we need to give him back his points then.
Tokyo Drift.
Seriously.
If that's your real redemption, you got to tell us because I'll take it seriously. Not that I think I need to watch that movie.
A Hulk designed car.
That's hilarious.
I love that
you see
car.
What Captain Salty Dog said? He said
Yeah,
westerns are, and I may get hate for this. Westerns are the walking bits of the Lord of the Rings. So that's what he said. That's hilarious.
Say what?
Yeah, no, they're
Yes.
But we can get into a whole discussion of Lord of the Rings that you guys aren't going to like either. So, because I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna like those movies either.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But
We can vote you off this panel, I think, for like a day.
I'll just produce, take the camera away, move the mic.
Have a blank screen. Just have a blank screen to be behind the scenes. You're off
take
for
you
a
to the
week.
bits of
Maybe I
Mordor.
can make me opaque. I'll take it down to 10% where you can see me and barely hear me. I had to whisper. I have to yell to get you guys to hear me.
You're punished.
You're punished. Yeah, that's the dunce
get a
version
week
of
off.
what we
You're
do.
punishment.
I love it.
Yeah, punished.
Oh, I love you guys. I'm glad we're still
Actually,
here.
no,
I'm glad we're still doing this.
your punishment would be you watching Tokyo Drift.
That's not a punishment for me.
your punishment.
Yeah, I think that's why he's redeeming it because he knows I don't like it.
No, his punishment will be no. I think Snitty's punishment would be him watching a western.
There you go. I was gonna say if it's a car movie, I'm in no matter how bad it is.
And I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Snippets is hinted at there being a movie that he refuses that he wants to watch.
Oh no, I've already said it.
They
We've
wanna
had a
watch,
discussion on the show about it. Brian has said straight up, "Yeah,
was
we
I
got to get
paying
you to watch
attention?
it." Maybe not. We had a whole
I think I
at
missed.
least 5 minutes on it. The Room.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, that's the one.
Never seen it. So.
The three of us haven't seen it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is this the room with Brie Larson in the room?
Is this
No,
the
no,
one
that's
they
Room.
they all have to
Oh,
move-
it's called Room.
Is it like? Wait, this is with
this
the
one with the dark haired guy, the long dark haired guy, the James
Why
Franco
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
The stuff where I know all these lines from the movie and I've never seen it. Like that's the movie.
Yeah, because it's like
I
part of like.
was never intense to see that. I was never like, ooh, let me go see this movie. So it has to be redeemed. If it's not
People
redeemed,
watch
then
it ironically. It's not. You're not watching it because it's like great cinema. You know what I mean? Like you're watching
It's like
it
Mystery
because
Theater 3000.
it's so
Oh.
bad. Like
It's
yeah.
like Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
Other than the Digital Mustang, I like that movie.
Or the fact that there's a fight on the roof for an iPod.
I like that fight. That fight makes sense. I'm not in Japan. I don't understand, what's going on over there. It works for me. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Spoiled kids trying to, grift each other. It was fine. I didn't have a problem with it.
But make sure you take off your shoes before you get into class.
Now that's Japanese culture. That's Wabaki.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know what? I still want to go to Japan one day and just eat at one of the like their vending machines. Like that. Just like that's for whatever reason. I probably could live in Tokyo because like that's the whole city life.
We're gonna go, you and I, and we're gonna also eat at the ramen place where we can't sit together, where they have a divide between you.
Oh, so me and Brian can come?
Oh wait, where the
Of course
ramen
you
comes
guys
down
can.
the...
I know. We'll do our own thing.
I mean, I guess we'll go somewhere else because he was like you. He literally said you and I.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
wow.
Oh, you talking about
so
the one where the
sorry.
ramen comes down like the water thing?
No, I will never eat
contact
at
you,
that
Brian.
place. I will never eat at a place where they have a like public ramen trough. Like, no thanks. I'm okay. That sounds gross. It's a waterfall ramen trough. It is the grossest thing. And you reach in with your bare hands and you grab the ramen.
Just kind of like zip past
Yeah.
you. You have to put your chopsticks in to get them.
Yep. Gnarly.
No.
Anyway, we have gotten way off track.
Yes,
I love when we do that though.
I do too.
At least a great conversation.
Oh, East of West.
We'll
Yes,
plan our trip.
Captain Salty Dog. I have the first 5 issues of East of West, but I only bought it because I knew it would be worth something, not because I actually cared about it being a Western.
Wow.
Okay, yes, I would go to Japan for a vending machine. You can get like lobster out of their vending machines. Like there's like whole, like you want steak, like yes.
You can buy anything you want out of their vending machines, and it gets pretty gross.
I love.
And while you're there, you can buy like a pair of like an entire outfit and tennis shoes, like out of the vending machine.
I love how Mr. Marvite was really trying to hold his tongue, but he was like, "But no, you don't get it. You don't get it. There's lobster in the vending machine."
Like that was the selling point.
You need to go YouTube Japanese vending machines and Japanese street food because it's worth it. It's worth the time you'll spend 4 or 5 hours, and then you'll want to go to Japan.
Also, it's beautiful to watch them make stuff in person like that. It's like watch them. It's like a work of art to watch them do that stuff now.
Yeah,
agreed.
That's like going to Dubai and you go to the gold souk or you go to the spice souk, and like it's just this crazy open market, I
want to go there.
It's
so
amazing.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I wouldn't mind hitting the ski slopes in the middle of summer.
There we go. Yeah, because I haven't been.
Trip, right?
Yeah. I haven't been there since 2004, so yeah, we can.
Okay, so you've been to Dubai. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. I was there before they built like the Burj Khalifa and everything.
Really?
Last time I was there, they were building an indoor ski resort.
So that's done, and it's full. It's huge. It's the size of a mountain.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they pump snow and they like make the snow.
And it's year round. Yeah, because it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's year round. It's
so. The street racing in Dubai has gotten ridiculous. Like that city has come out of nothing. Like if you look at pictures of it, even 20 years ago, like. Anyway, so yeah, Mr. Marvelite will go and I'll go to Japan. You guys can go to Dubai. I have no problem with that.
Whoa, I'm going to Dubai too, though.
Oh,
what?
We'll stop by Dubai and then we'll go to Japan.
I'm gonna be alone.
I know.
We didn't get invited to the other one. So.
Yeah, this is our
It's
trip.
an open invitation. Exactly. You don't have to be invited. It's just
we're going to Dubai. And do you have money?
Okay.
You know.
Lobster for everybody. Come on.
Lobster. Okay.
What do we talk about on this show? I have no idea anymore.
We talk about vending machines, and we have definitely been reviewing lobster vending machines and ski slopes.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we could say some more about True Grit if you guys would like, or we can move on to the next film. Let's review. Lala, you cannot give us your rating yet, so we're going to actually skip you on this one, and we'll get it next week.
Please,
or when you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Marvelite? What's your
I'd give it a
rating?
7. Yeah, I'd give it a 7. It's it's not a perfect film, but I think it was, well, it did really well. And I want to say this, so it was nominated for a lot of things, but it was beaten out. I mean, we're talking about the same Oscar show that they were nominated alongside things like The King's Speech
Hmm.
and
This was
like
better
Black
than the
Swan,
King's
and
Speech,
there was
but
like
the King's Speech was good.
right, but I'm saying like there were like it was one of the last few Oscars that really was valid in my opinion, like where there was really good films, and it didn't just seem like it was a snooze fest. So for me, I get why it didn't win a lot. There was a lot of competition against it, though I still don't know why Alice in Wonderland would ever beat this movie to anything, but that's perfectly fine.
Are you talking about the
It
Tim
beat him for
Burton
costumes.
Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, yeah. The costume they lost their Oscar nomination for costuming to Alice in Wonderland, not the Behind the Looking Glass. It was the first one,
Yeah.
and it was just because it was like the clothing was outrageous and it was Tim Burton, and you know, you know, flashy will oftentimes win over period pieces. So, but yeah, it was a 7, and I probably would have liked it more as a kid. I don't look at 7 as being a bad rating, so I would probably be about the same.
All right. I'll give it my rating next. It's going to be a surprise rating. It's an 8. Again, I can tell the quality of the film. I get it. It's a good film.
Like,
Did I rate it wrong?
It's an 8.
How
It's
is
a
your
solid
rating
film.
higher than Mr. Marvel? Like,
I
It's a
like the
solid
Coen
film. It's a
Brothers.
Coen Brothers film. It deserves
All
the
right, it's an
recognition.
8.5 for me now.
It deserves everything. It just isn't
Yeah.
for me. I don't know. I guess I can make that
This
distinction.
is a-
So, and I'm trying to make that distinction because again,
That's a
trying to
very
review it in an
respectful
honest
opinion,
way,
though.
where I'm not. If
Right,
if
that
it
is
was
it.
Mark
That
Wahlberg
is it.
instead of Matt Damon, I would be trashing this film. Like,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
can see that. Okay,
eight,
I'll
eight,
give you
8
that.
for me.
Yeah. Mhm.
All the movie things.
Yeah. It's a 9. 9 for me. I love it. I've rewatched this thing, multiple times. And I find something new. I like for me, the new thing that was speaking to me was this idea of it being like more than just a Western, but it being like this, like a fable, and something more mythical behind it with some of these little characters that I was paying more attention to these like smaller characters this time around. So,
All right.
yeah.
I'm also going to watch
9
this
for me.
again. By the way, I
Okay.
want to. I want to
wanna
like it.
finish it
I
tonight.
want to actually.
Right.
It's one of those movies. Like, I actually watched Man of Steel 6 times and I hate the film. So, like, explain that to me. I don't know.
Oh man.
I can't stand it, but I keep watching it, hoping that something will trigger in me. They'll be, oh, I like this Superman movie. No, I don't. So, she left. She's mad at me. She left.
I would too.
She literally scoffed and then left. That was great.
Oh no.
Can we still hear you?
I don't know. Can you?
Yes, we can still hear you. And Ray, of course, is not happy about that either.
Yes.
No.
Ray is literally like my film twin. Literally.
I think Blind Biggie is mine. Except for it's like a handful, but for the most part, he and I are pretty lined up, which is interesting. And I do think that Brian are more lined up than I think sometimes, but it depends on the film, I think. But that's true for everybody.
Yeah. There are some wild cards out there. So.
I think Brian and I are probably more in tune. I think than you and I are.
Really?
Smitty.
But you still for me all the time. Me and you
That's because I'm not paying attention sometimes, and I'm repeating because we think alike. But I think our preferences
Yeah.
in movies is more me and Brian. But you and I
I
have
can
the
see
same
that.
opinions when we do have them.
This is
Yeah.
why I think this show works, because it depends on the movie. There are days where it's Lala and I were like, no, you guys are
Oh,
crazy.
yeah,
This
no,
movie's
totally.
amazing. And I think the dynamic changes on
Yeah,
every
because
show.
you
which
use
is
the
so
term
great.
"kidsmet" a lot, and it makes me feel like left out.
Okay,
Finally,
that
you
goes
left
back
out
though. That
the-
goes all the way back to the first time Lala and I met. But speaking of Kismet and meeting people and this show, next week is actually the 1-year anniversary of my streaming movie reviews. So this is going to be a big show for me personally. We'll be coming up on the 1 year for Lala here, not that long, only like 2 months. And then of course the real study technically is in October, but that's this is the 4th iteration of the show. So
Right.
something like that. Doesn't matter. I've been streaming for a year. I've been doing movies, so I'm really excited. And so next week we're actually gonna have a special guest. At least we should.
Movies, that's too much
And it's the Fry guy who was my original co-host, and he'll be back to join us. He'll be picking a movie, and then of course we'll have a couple others. And I don't think Tokyo Drift is going to be one of them. I hope not, at least.
You gonna have a cake?
It might be.
No
Fingers
cake.
crossed.
I mean, we
cake.
could. I mean, we could. I mean, is that
Something.
typical? Cake.
Should I make real study?
I mean,
cupcakes?
why not? It's the anniversary.
So we're all supposed to bring
You know,
cake and we just eat
We
it
should
on
all bring
screen.
cake. Yeah,
Cake.
that's all we're gonna do.
Punch and pie. We'll just bring punch and pie.
Yeah.
Can I
Anyway,
bring a,
so that'll be
can I
fun.
bring a
You guys will get
cookie
to
out
meet
of
him.
the cake?
So I'm really hoping you guys will all be here. I'm hoping everything works out to where we can have the whole new crew. And then I was trying to actually have my brother-in-law back as well, but his schedule isn't going to work out. So he kind of filled in for a couple episodes. But you know, it's all good. That being said, we are going to move on to which one was next? I think it was Encanto that was listed next. Why don't we?
Encanto, yes.
This was something that once last week's movies were being decided, the whole crew kind of went Encanto. Like, why, you know, why aren't we doing Encanto? It's the new Disney animated movie. We don't do animated movies nearly enough on this show. And I know that Black Girl Marvel is a huge fan.
Exactly.
Right.
So it was time, and we'll try to do more in the future. So
I
don't.
could do an animated movie. I could do one animated movie every time we do movies. I know I have so many in my roster. I can put them out.
I like it.
So
on that note,
grown
why
man
don't we?
that has a son, but my excuse is I still watch them anyway for myself.
Right.
But they're good. They're so good. Why don't we start with Black Girl Marvel on this one, and we will go from there.
Okay.
Did you finish watching it?
Burn. She left again. You keep spooking, spooking her away. She keeps running away from all these different things. Okay, she's back.
Okay.
It's gonna be my turn next to make her go.
It is. What are you gonna say?
I don't know. We'll see.
I'm like, what is happening? Okay, so I'm gonna be like Mr. Marvel. So Encanto, if you haven't seen it, it's a movie about Okay, so Encanto literally is a movie about a a magical family. He went away. Yes, 2 months ago. No, Encanto is about a magical family who everybody has a specific gift, but it's like the question is, what happens if you do not have a gift per se? So it's about our protagonist, Mirabelle, and her family, and pretty much how her family trash. I'm sorry.
Pretty much. Ooh. Anyway.
No, her family trash. Okay, so initial thoughts on this film. Spoiler alert, we're gonna spoil the mess out of this. Initial thoughts on this film is that it's amazing. Okay, I started the film and I was like, I hate this. I said, what am I watching? I said, Disney has failed us on this. Like the first 5 minutes, I did not like this film because I was like, why is everybody being so mean to this girl? I was like, this is not sitting right for me. Like after the whole introduction of the family, that 5 minutes, I was like, why are people being mean to this girl? Like her heart seems very big. It looks like it's on her sleeve, and people are still being mean to her. Grandmother is dismissive. Her family doesn't stand up for her. And I was like, just because she ain't got no gift? What?
Yeah, she's kind of considered a nuisance, and
right. And all she wants to do is help her family and be of service and care for everybody. And then as the film keeps going on, the music is amazing. It just keeps picking up. It gets better. The plot itself gets getting thicker because you find out that this ain't the first time they've dismissed somebody in the family that made them run away. Like they literally ran out a sibling of the family. Like my man was living in walls. He could have had kids by now, but he was so the townspeople didn't care for him. Nobody cared for him. So it's
he was Voldemort. They don't even say his name. No,
literally. But he was when you see him, one, he's voiced by John Leguizamo. So how can you not love him?
Right.
For one, how can you not love him? The moment he opened his mouth, I was like, he's amazing. And then he's just a sweetheart. He literally lives behind the dining room table and watches his family eat without him. Like I was so sick with this movie. It gave me all the feels. Like I feel like this movie is a prime example of what Disney could do as as a unit, like as a full unit working. Like they went to Colombia, they looked at like these
Hmm.
lives of people, they studied, which means they could go anywhere, still waiting on an African something. But anyway, I digress. Uh, I digress.
You're
But I
right.
just feel like this film, like I felt so connected to this film, and I'm not even Colombian if you couldn't tell. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I feel like this transcends race. I think it transcends
Oh yeah.
gender, everything.
Hmm.
It's people, people
Hmm.
being people,
It's
and some of
family.
them being
It's
their
like,
worst. You know what I'm saying?
hmm,
Family. Some people being their
yeah.
worst selves. Some people being their best. People who just want to fit in. People who just want to feel love. I have
Hmm.
so many videos coming out on TikTok about this movie because every time I watch it, I find something new, and I'll let
Right.
somebody else talk because I can go forever.
All the movie things.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I love this movie. I saw it when it first came out, and then I watched or did a rewatch on Disney Plus. Um, and like, I'm such a visual person as far as like lighting, camera work, and all that. So I like the first thing that pops out for me is like how vivid and just visually stunning this film is. Like I mean, they just these like computer animated basically films now that Disney does, not just Pixar, but they're just
Mm-hmm.
getting better and better. And like the detail, I mean, you can see like Mirabelle's dress, like you can see every little piece of fabric in her damn dress. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
incredible. And like all these, like it looks like it was handmade basically. The lighting is really incredible. I mean, the songs. I mean, I'm, you know, singing the damn songs all the time. They're stuck in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Lin Manuel Miranda, so of course they're gonna get stuck in your head. And yeah, and the story just like speaks to you. Like it's, and I love that we're seeing more, from different cultures in Disney
Yep.
films. And I mean, because you like learn something. Because I mean they have a whole like all kinds of different food. Even like there's food that I never even heard of that they like literally talk about in this film.
The
And I'm like, I
arepa
don't even
con
know what that is.
queso.
What is? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's like that looks. It looks incredible. And like, and um, yeah, man, just like the family. It's like about, for me, it's all about like family dynamics and how like Mirabelle's like power really is like holding everything together. Like,
Together,
she didn't. Yeah, yeah.
whether
I just
people
love that.
realize it
Like,
or not. That's what I
yeah,
realized. Nobody realized how special she was until she walked away.
exactly. Yeah.
Right? Even the townspeople, those
Hmm.
kids were like, they can't find her. Like nobody,
Yeah,
like
yeah. I
everybody's
love the
screaming for
kids.
her.
Like,
Like
yeah.
nobody realizes how important she is until she's not
Yep.
there. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So
exactly.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, you don't know what you got until it's gone, kind of thing.
yep,
So,
yep.
yeah, just I mean, wasn't expect. I mean, I knew I was gonna like it, but I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did. So, yeah,
Mr.
it was a
Marmalade.
good, fun film.
So, just first of all, confirming everything what everybody else said, I wholeheartedly agree. I really find that regardless of the representation, this thing relates to so many people. And but what I thought was what was really interesting is um, the representation, how it is an argument for people who try to say, you know, doing this representation, doing these things where it displays people of color, that it can't be a good story. It
Right.
is a freaking
Hmm.
fantastic story. I would dare say it's one of the best Disney stories that we've had in a long time, for the
Mhm.
sole purpose that people are analyzing the crap out of this movie, and there are things that
Right.
we're still discovering. I mean, from the Easter egg of Bruno dancing behind Dolores when she's singing the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song,
Mhm.
to like the different little bits and pieces about how things are referenced. And then if you actually listen to what Dolores is saying during the song, she knew what was going on. And
Yeah,
Dolores
she
is
could hear him in the
Dolores
background.
Milo doesn't really have a problem with any of the other characters in the film. He's just who he is, and he's happy being who he is. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, the first thing you see him using his power for, in the movie, is helping a mother get some rest. Like doing those
Hmm.
kind of
Mhm.
like those little things. But then, like, then it's like the idea like the rats for Bruno are they're his they're Bruno's friends, but yet they're willing to join in on the thing mocking Bruno when Camilo starts shape shifting to look
Oh
like Bruno.
right.
Like there's like
Yeah.
so many little things, but trying to identify what Mirabelle's her gift is, because I do believe that she did get a gift, and the reason why she didn't get a door is because her
Mhm.
gift is being utilized by another, and it was misinterpreted. I believe she will be the abuela.
Mhm.
That the reason why she
Mm.
didn't get a door is
Yeah,
because
yeah.
she will then replace abuela when she passes away, because abuela doesn't really have a gift either, except for
Right.
Nope.
contending to the magic.
She's the
And
matriarch.
if you look, there are only two individuals in the whole movie that actually talk to the house.
Mhm.
It's Abuela,
It's
but it's
Mir
more of a
and
command.
yeah, it's
Mirabelle had the
Mirabelle.
actual relationship, and
Yeah,
where
she
Yeah.
has
when
the
the house
yeah,
was
she does.
collapsing, the house kicked
It
everybody
saved
else
her.
out, but was helping her to try to
Mhm.
save the magic. So like there's so many different little things, but like just the 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 relationship with the individuals, the music is just every
Amazing.
single one is just fantastic.
Mhm.
And I can't get the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song out of my head.
Yeah.
But it really drives down to the familial pressures of expectation,
Mhm.
and when you have power or get a gift and a responsibility, how much does
Mhm.
that responsibility just take away from you being able to enjoy, just being who you are,
Right.
and not live up to those pressures? And then for individuals Abuela was definitely not at fault. I'm going to say this: she was not blameless. She was at fault for a lot of the pressures that brought the house down. But at the same time, it was you could understand, but not excuse her behavior because of what loss she experienced and how she was trying to protect, but she lost sight of what was important. And I believe when Mirabelle went off on her and said, you are the problem, you are destroying the magic, you are destroying the family, that was true. And for a young girl to talk to her abuela or her mother or her grandmother or the matriarch of the family to be able to say that, Mirabelle was a very bold individual, but she just did not understand her worth, and it took her looking at the good in all of them and being able to have faith in all of them for her to have faith in herself. And then of course that whole, her opening the door and having her own doorknob at the end, that was
Mhm.
where I started to cry. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
that's my
I cried once during this whole film, and it was when
oh
Bruno's
really?
plate was shown. I was
Oh yeah, that part was
that
emotional.
crushed me.
Oh
I was
yeah.
like,
Mhm.
dude, what did they do to him? So I'm coming from an exceptionally cynical place when it comes to this film because of my own personal family
Yay!
and my own personal like experiences. So when I see Abuela and I see the way she treats her family, I felt like this movie did not cover forgiveness of her transgressions at all, one iota. She
Mm.
basically got to treat people like crap for 20 years, and then when it was all her fault and somebody called her on it, she was like, "Oh, my bad," and then everybody forgave her. Now that's Disney, I get it. But being that had
Mhm.
I gone off on my own family in that way, they would have told me to get to the door and leave. It was really hard for me to swallow this one. But again, that's my own personal shit. That's not this movie, but it made it really hard for me to get emotional about a circumstance where I don't have family. Like I quite literally, like my dad's passed, my mom is quite distant, and the rest of my family is gone. So I have none. So for me, it's
Mhm.
just I was really cynical. I felt like it was a two-act play with no explanation because I didn't feel the connection the three of you and pretty much every other human feels, which is
Mhm.
kind of making me feel a little broken. But at the same time, this isn't for me to air my shit. I did enjoy
But
the
is it though? I
music.
think it is.
Well, fair. I did enjoy the
Mhm.
music a lot. Lynn is phenomenal. Those songs are stuck in my head. It's not the animation, it's not the voice acting, all of it beautiful. This is sounding like a lot like what I said about True Grit. Um, I see the beauty of this film. I do see the
It's
beauty
a
of it.
great film, it just didn't hit with you.
Exactly, and that's there's a difference, and I think we can parse that out on the show where like we can see a quality film but still go it didn't hit with me. And again, it could just be that I'm having
Mhm.
a kind of a crap day, and I tried 4 times to watch this movie
Mhm.
this week. Kids interrupted it every time, so then I watched it today, kind of rushed, So all of that could be a factor. So I will watch it again, to be fair. Of course, I'm going to watch it again. My daughter's going to love this movie, and I'm going to watch it 1,000 times. But
Of course.
and hopefully, I'll get to a point like at the sixth viewing where I'll be like, "Oh, I see the beauty," and I'll come back to you guys and let you know. But until then, I felt very kind of like that was it. Like all you do is say you're sorry once for basically putting her in a closet and turning Bruno into the people under the stairs. That guy was living literally as the people under the stairs. Thought there was a pit of death even that he couldn't go into, like, which I love that scene where he dropped down and went, oh, never mind, and he could like blow the smoke away. So like there were some wonderful moments, and Bruno was probably my second favorite character, Maribel being my favorite character because I related to her. I did, but if it were me, I would have, man, that discussion would have gone way different, and there would have been some scream fighting and like, you know, drowning each other in the river kind of stuff, not sitting by the river all nice, like just wouldn't have gone that way. I digress.
Well, okay, for me, I got into an argument with my brother before. Me and my brother do not argue. Like we don't like. I know how some people grow up with siblings and they're like, man, we need to be at each other's throats and blah blah blah. Me and my brother have never been like that. I think I could count on my hand the moment of times we've actually had an argument, right? And every time we've had this argument, we have went our separate ways, come back, giving each other a kiss, and it was over, right? So her going off on her grandmother, and then her grandmother realizing the error in her ways, and then and then them like retracing her steps with the grandfather. For me, this movie hit hard in generational like trauma, right? Because for me, I think another part of Mirabelle's gift is they show us that she sees these things, right? When people are telling her these stories, she's in the thick of it. And I know it's like Disney animation to like show the person in the middle of it. Like, of course, her and her sister weren't floating in the air. You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't riding like donkey unicorns and things like that. But I think something else with Mirabelle is that she's able to not only listen, but she's able to interpret people's words and emotions and feelings to the point of being able to see what they're talking about, right? So I think that's why they would put her in these situations where she was watching her grandmother and her grandfather. She watched her grandmother break down, and she realized that her grandmother went through something and then had three babies and a town full of people to take care of. So it was easy to be like, okay, I forgive you because you understand now that everything that you've been holding on to, the things that you were trying to fix, you fixed. You were just so much in your own trauma, in your own sadness, that it took me to kind of like shake you out of it, right? Because because it's a scene that I just like I watched it the other day because I've been watching this movie like crazy. It's the scene where she's telling the story about pretty much how they lost the grandfather and everything, and then you see her in her new home once the miracle happened, and she's looking down at her triplets, and then she kind of looks up and her face drops, like she pulls herself together, and she puts on that black shawl, and then you see her transition like down the hallway as she gets older and older. And I love like wardrobe takes I love wardrobe because it informs the character for the most part. You can kind of tell what a character is going through based on what they're wearing. She wore that shawl as though she was in mourning because it's a black shawl. She wears that shawl throughout the entire film until the end, where she's finally able to release that burden. So throughout this time, even I'm not like negating that she treated her family wrong or she did these things wrong, but sometimes when you're clouded by trauma, by grief, by this darkness, it stops you from you have this tunnel vision, and it stops you from seeing the people lined up along the lines, like fighting and in it with you. You neglect everything for the sole purpose of trying to protect. And then you realize you're not even protecting, right? And I
No, yeah,
think
that'll
that's
make
the
sense.
biggest thing with the abuela. And I feel like that's why it was easy to forgive her because other people saw it. They just couldn't communicate it. And Mirabelle was the only one that could communicate it in a way that the grandmother understood.
Well, also think about what they were struggling with, the expectations. You had the two sisters who we really kind of delved into the stress and struggle with their abilities and their powers, you had the oldest sister, which has the strength, and she's always afraid that her worth is never going to be, if she doesn't have the power, she's worth nothing. That she can't, she
Yep.
only by what she accomplishes, and even though she accomplishes so much, it's the next thing she has to accomplish. And then what would it be like if I could actually take a breath and relax for a
Right.
moment? But then I can't do that because what would pull other people under is what I'm thriving on. And then you have, was it Isabella, who, she's promised this perfect life. And it was funny because somebody actually pulled into, when you listen, when you go through and you the song, like there's so many different verses. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't talk about Bruno at the end, when Mirabelle is putting the pieces together, they actually added new words with Isabella. She's not just saying my life, the life of my dreams is promised. She's constantly repeating to herself, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, but she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't
Mm-hmm.
fine. And
Yeah.
it was this, so Abuela, Isabella, and the older sister, I forget her name at the moment,
Peppa
they're, yeah,
or Louisa.
Louisa, yeah.
Louisa.
So they're all struggling with the same problem, and
Right.
they're each manifesting it differently. And I don't excuse Abuela for what she did, but Abuela took, and instead of taking the magic to be able to live a life of joy and safety, she thought that she was the custodian of the magic, and that it could be lost at any time, which put the family in jeopardy without
Mm-hmm.
even considering. And even you go back and look, Bruno's isolation from the family was done by Bruno, because he knew people were frightened by his visions, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't even understand his own power. And so
Mhm.
he chose to leave to protect Mirabelle. And Abuela looked at that as him abandoning the family, not realizing that he's in the wall. And it was just, it just impounded. And so the idea that, Bruno had this, let's say, recklessness, and they're seeing it with Mirabelle, not understanding that they go side, like they're two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Mirabelle doesn't know what her future's like, but Bruno knows what the future, but doesn't understand it. And together they kind of flip around, and they're able to see what they're supposed to become. And it's just interesting. So I do agree completely with you, Mr. Tibbets. um Abuela needed more reckoning for her behavior and for her actions. And again, I think that's part of where the Disney effect happens.
Right.
They
Yeah.
simplify sometimes that, um
Mhm.
this is where we're going to see this has become so popular, they're going to do another movie, and then we're going to have to deal with more of Abuela's antics, basically. um
Or if
I
this
just
were a
disagree that
Nolan
he
movie,
needed more reckoning.
if this were a Nolan movie or
Not a
something along
Nolan
those,
film.
no, I'm
No.
saying if it were if it took the same story and apply it to a more dramatic and a more adult style film, then you would
Oh.
likely have no recollection, no reconciliation in the end. You would have that not working
Mm-hmm.
out. It would be much more real to life. And I
Yeah.
think Disney always puts this
yeah.
little bow on things.
Or
And for
ambiguous.
me, I
I don't.
usually
I don't
love
know though.
the happy ending, and for this one, I couldn't swallow it. I couldn't swallow that
Mm-hmm.
pill. Little big
Yeah.
I
for
mean,
me.
I get that, and I'm not knocking that, and I'm not saying this to like trying to trade your mind because that's not what I do with film. I'm just saying for me, the like I feel like I feel like it's your grandmother, and I grew up in a house where my grandmother could be something else. I won't use the word I have in my head, but she could be something else. And if she gave you like I'm sorry, if she recognized that she was at fault, then that's the end of it. You don't rehash, you don't go back,
Okay.
you don't keep talking about it, you
Yeah.
don't do the thing. So for me, for Mirabelle did something that a lot of people don't do is and confront the problem, right? And nine times
Right.
out of ten, when you confront the problem, you get opposition, and you get somebody saying, "No, this is what doesn't happen, and this is what you don't da 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 da," like that. But for the grandmother to actually be like, you know what, I was wrong. This is my
Mhm.
story, and now I see that this is why I did what I did, and it's not right, right? She gave us that much, and I feel like it's not a bow because they still have to like live their lives and like figure out this new way of living. It's like more behind the scenes that we won't
Yeah.
see. But I just feel like you don't. I feel like if somebody gives you an "I'm sorry," you have to take them at that and see what they do with it
Right.
afterward.
But
Yeah.
also, if you think about that whole montage of the final song with them building the new
Mhm.
foundation, you see
Mhm.
Abuela's her entire interaction with everyone changes,
Mhm.
and she steps back,
Mhm.
and she lets Mirabelle have control. And
Mhm.
Yep.
that was a big statement. And for the matriarch of a family to do something like that, and to take that step back.
Mhm.
That is almost like saying, I am sorry, but I also know that I should not be in that position. So I am taking the step back
She
Mhm.
and letting the
retired.
person that was right. Yeah, she basically retired
Officially.
her
Yeah.
role and let Mirabelle take it. And I think that's where it's very
Mhm.
important, because you even see that with the doorknob at the end where I cried. They acknowledge
Right.
Mirabelle's worth,
Mhm.
and it's her that has to let them in. And
Yeah.
that was like the complete flip. But I have to say, now I'm thinking about, if Nolan were to do this film, Mirabelle would have gotten an argument with Abuela, burned the house down, and then would have gotten on
It would have been real
a
fire.
subway train and plowed her into Wayne
No, for
Wayne
real.
Tower,
That would have been a
and
real
Yeah, it
subway.
would have been
then would have been
right.
rebuilding it. Would have
Yeah.
like talked about rebuilding the house at the end.
Yeah.
Right. And they would have really
Um,
Yeah.
rebuilt the house.
that's all I'm thinking of. Batman Begins now, but it's more like Encanto
No,
Begins.
for sure. Yeah.
Sorry, I love Nolan and I
No, I
love
wanted
that
to end
about
like
him. So
Janine. Let me
Yeah.
see. Janine talked about a theory that she read about Mirabelle, like pretty much like her gift. I know a lot of people were like, I don't understand like what her gift is. So she said, I saw a great take that the doors separate the family. Mirabelle didn't get one because her magic is to bring the family together, right?
or the
Yeah.
front
So
door
this
was
is
her
I've
door.
been rewatching this movie. Yeah, like well the house
Right.
door is her door, right?
Right.
So this is what I was thinking about. Okay, so like I was thinking about the candle, the Encanto is like the magic that gives everybody like their abilities, right? Then it also gives them their door that has whatever this magical world or whatever, or not magical with Bruno's sense, because man, them stairs. But
Right.
whatever magical, like whatever, because I really wanted to see what was behind
Hernando.
Luis's door. I wanted to see what was behind Luis's door. Like was it all just workout
I
equipment?
know. Yeah. I
Is
wonder
it
It
what
was
like
a
she
you know what I
gym.
mean? Like we
So we
never got to
know
It was a
see.
we
gym.
do actually know what's behind her door. There was a story panel that they had worked on, that they were going to
Mhm.
have Mirabelle go into Luis's room, and the entire room would have been made out of stone to show that it was as hard as she was. But there was actually supposed to be a secret room off to the side that was basically like a circus and carousel and stuff, for her to be
To
able to
show like
have a
her
place
other
to enjoy
side,
that no one
other
knew
side.
about,
Know about
because she was
right.
afraid of people knowing about her wanting this,
This
this
other
release,
thing about
which would
her.
have been
Right.
even
Right.
worse, I
Yeah.
think. But
Right.
No, but I would have loved to like I would love to see her room. But like that the candle gives them like these rooms and all this kind of stuff. And we also learned that the candle burnt out at the end of the film, right? So in my idea, I believe that the reason why Mirabelle did not get a door is because she's the living embodiment of the candle. Because if you watch the film, whenever she would talk to one of her siblings, she either empowered them or depowered them, and that's only power that the candle gives, right? Because when the candle went out, when the candle burns bright, like you get a power or you get like a juiceable power, however it is. When
No,
the
you're
candle
right.
died, everybody lost their power. Everybody lost their powers. It wasn't until at the end, because at the end is pretty much the beginning where everybody is lined up and Mirabelle is standing in the middle, having to walk down
Mhm.
to get her door. It's literally the beginning of the movie. It's literally the end of the movie. She's just older now. When she opens the door, the magic comes back, the house comes back alive, and everybody gets their abilities back. So I think that's why
Hmm.
she did not get a power because she is the power. Because when she
Hmm.
talked to Louisa, she was like, "You don't have to carry
She
as much as you can carry." She lost her
Right.
ability
she also
after
gave
that.
Bruno the
When she
confidence
talked
to
to
do it again.
exactly
Right.
to give, and he was better at interpreting it this time.
Right. Because
He
she
Mhm.
was
was
like,
there
follow
guiding
the
him and
butterfly. The
telling him. Right.
butterfly led her because she was there
Mhm.
guiding him.
Right.
Isabella, I mean, no, yeah, Isabella, when she talked to her, it wasn't until she talked to her that Bruno's vision of her came true when she said that her powers would be like so great and powerful, like the grip of a vine. It wasn't until then that she realized that she could do way more with her
Mhm.
abilities than create beautiful flowers. So I think Mirabelle is the candle. So that's my theory. Is why she didn't get a door because her door is the house. Like her ability is like her door is the house. Like she's the candle. She's the Encanto. So that's my theory.
Mhm.
I like it. We got to
Okay,
rate it
Muncie
because we
said they
have
would
a
have
whole
blown out
nother
the
movie.
Like
candle.
that.
We got a whole nother movie to to watch and or talk about, and I want to get to it because it is.
I think I'm gonna say this though real quick. Muncie said he would have blown out the candle if he was Maribel. If Maribel was stronger than him. So your magical gift would have been pettiness.
Yes, that's definitely Muncie's magical gift. My gosh, yes, that is his gift. I can attest to that. That is so true. That is his gift.
Let's give quick number ratings and let's move to the pre-review. Let's start right here with all the movie things.
I got a 9 for me.
A 9, I like it. How about you, Black Girl Marvel?
Yes, it's there, 9.
I give this movie a 9.5.
Oh. And Mr. Marvelite?
It was a 9 for me as well.
7.
Watchable.
Watchable.
I'm gonna give this a 7.
I'll give it a 7. Just to,
7.
I'll tell people to watch it. It's a
next
fun
show we
movie.
do,
Not my favorite Disney
rewatch
movie.
it and see if your opinions.
I will rewatch it, and then I'll see if it changes. We'll see.
He's gonna be like-
I'm definitely
he's gonna be
taking
like,
into
"I'm
mind
so
everything you guys have said. I even asked Bats. I was like, should I just be honest about how I felt? And she was like, of course. Maybe they'll give you some
Yes,
insight on how to
always.
approach the film again. So I'm glad I did. That being said, we are going to move to the pre-review with Sean, who has another wonderful upcoming movies for us, and then we'll be right back.
How's it going, Real Study viewers? I'm Sean, and I'm back with this week's pre-review. We only have one nationwide release this week, but it is a big one. It is Scream. I am so excited. 25 years later, we get to return to Woodsboro, California, and somebody has returned the moniker of Ghostface Killer. This is one of my favorite horror franchises, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. This week, Disney Plus brings us Eternals. So finally, we get to show the rest of my family Eternals, a fun movie that I think is one of the most gorgeous Marvel films out there, and I'm happy that it's out on Disney Plus for everybody else to see. Also this week, Amazon brings us one for the kids. It's Hotel Transylvania Transformania. And as far as the Hotel Transylvania series go, they aren't terrible. Their jokes aren't horrible. I've really enjoyed the ones that I've seen previously, so I'm excited to see what this one is. Because, sometimes as a parent, you're forced to watch a cartoon that isn't the most enjoyable, and it's fun when you find the ones that are. And finally this week, a movie that had a very limited theatrical release around Christmas time now comes to Apple TV Plus, and we have The Tragedy of Macbeth. Joel Cohen wrote and directed this film. It looks absolutely incredible. Frances McDermott, Denzel Washington. I mean, I cannot wait to watch this. It looks awesome. Well, that's all we have this week, Real Study viewers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next week.
And we're back, and this is, of course, the season where movies are kind of few and far between. We're getting on into spring, where, of course, we'll start to see bigger and more releases. But this is kind of a dead time of year, but that's okay. We'll go over the movies like we are now. Anybody excited about Eternals like I am? Oh, wait, you guys have all seen it already.
I'm excited to watch it again.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll watch it again.
Oh wow, that sound alert didn't work.
No,
Well, that's
mine didn't
sad.
either. I've been trying to work on mine.
Huh?
It's
I
okay.
don't know
got
why
a
that didn't
billion
work.
points. I'll just win.
Yeah, I'll figure that out. It's weird that it didn't. That being said, we are going to move into Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is the 4th installment in the Ghostbusters series, 3rd in the original franchise, if you will.
Yep.
I would say, if you want to get technical, I would say there's only 2 films in the canon. This film does not reference the second Ghostbusters film at all. Not one iota that I saw.
Well, if you talk Ray has the shop.
Never mind. Thank you. I didn't even think about that. That is a huge part of it. But as far as any of the gear or the lore from 2, they left it all out. Like, there's no...
Right, yeah. There's no, like, the ooze. Yeah,
there's no slime.
Giant canisters and, like, yeah.
Which is weird.
I'm okay
because I
with
actually
that.
liked that. I don't know.
Sure.
I like 2. People hate it. I like it. It's fun.
It was a Gozer tale. It wasn't really a Vigo.
Yeah.
That's
The
true.
Scourge of Moldavia.
Yeah.
See you,
So,
Brian Biggie. Thanks for coming through.
thank you very much for coming on by. I hope you do get to catch it later because we are going to talk about Ghostbusters. So let's go with all the movie things
Spoiler
and
alert.
his initial take on Ghostbusters Afterlife, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. cried way more than I thought. I was not expecting to cry at this movie. I mean, they do a. I mean, they do a great job with honoring. Um, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but they
Here,
honor
I'll
someone
put up
that
the
has
spoilers.
like
That way we
left
can
in
just
real life.
talk
Yeah.
our brains out
No,
here
yeah.
because we're gonna
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna spoil the heck out of this. So if you haven't seen it,
just be
Yeah.
aware.
So, yeah. So they do a great job of honoring Egon and his name's escaping me.
Harold Ramis.
The actor that plays Harold Ramis. Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and honoring Harold Ramis, and they did such a great job of like visually how they. I mean, it was crazy, and you had to see everyone come back. And there is some. I mean, I've been hearing all this talk about like the term fan service, and like whether it's good, whether it's bad. I think it can be overdone, but I think for me this one was just, I loved the way it was done. Um, this one just felt like just a fun like kind of coming of age story as well. Um, I really love Phoebe, like McKenna Grace's character. She was so phenomenal in this film, and um, yeah, and some of the side characters were pretty great. Of course, Paul Rudd is Paul Rudd, so I mean he's doing his Paul Rudd thing.
He's almost like you can't
and
make
he-
a
and
movie
he-
without him now.
right, yeah, and like he was
okay
kind of
with that.
there, yeah,
I'm alright with
yeah,
it.
and he was kind of there as like us too, like the people that grew up with Ghostbusters anyway.
Right.
Like he was like that representation, the whole like
Living fan
replica,
service.
like, and he was fascinated. Yeah, exactly. Like, and he was like reliving those moments. Um, yeah, I just thought it was, and there's a lot of great things about like more more about family things in there, and like this, and like Egon being misunderstood, and like why he had to leave his family initially and everything, and um, yeah, I just really love the movie. I mean, it felt very much connected to, for me, um, the original Ghostbusters. So
I like it. I like it. You guys mind if I go next? Here I go.
Good.
We really do.
Oh,
Like,
I knew it. No. So I was not one of
Mr.
the
Barker, like,
naysayers.
your initial thoughts. No, it's like
Oh, he leaves. So my
he disappeared. Okay.
you guys are just gonna leave all night. It's gonna happen. My initial thoughts of the remake in 2016 were not bad. I did not hate that movie like most people did, but I didn't expect it to be the original Ghostbusters. I knew it was kind of its own take and kind of an SNL take at that. But when I watched this, I went, oh crap, this is exactly what everybody was hoping for the first time around, and we didn't get it at all. But I still don't think that movie deserves hate other than the 3D going outside of the aspect ratio, which drives me nuts. Besides that, this movie, I was worried about how they were going to approach Harold Ramis, especially since he wrote and created the Ghostbusters with Dan Aykroyd. I was worried that it would be too far gone. But then when I saw Jason Reitman attached to it, I was really excited. He's a good director. Dad, obviously, being the director of Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
So I was really stoked, and then kind of worried, because you go into something like this and you're like, okay, I'm really excited, but am I overhyping it? And no, I genuinely loved the ride. I didn't mind the callbacks, talking about what all the movie things is saying about fan service. There's just the right amount of fan service. I think any more would have been too much. I think they were just riding the line. I loved the callbacks to the Marshmallow Man. All the little Marshmallow Men were some of my favorite in the film.
I want one so bad.
I know.
I like that they got their own,
It's so cute.
Slimer. That Muncher is his own guy.
Right. Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
So like most remake, redo, sequel, remakeables, you have to find a way to tread your own ground, but you have to also rebootquels. I like that. And I watched this twice, because I watched it once because we were going to watch it, my wife and I together, because we're both giant Ghostbusters fans. Like, we've been watching them since we met, and obviously before that. But we sat down and started watching this, and she passed out, not because she was bored, just kids. And so I was like, no, I cannot not watch this. So I just came into the office
Oh,
and just
nice.
watched the whole thing straight through. And at the end, I was just like, I had to like blow my nose, and like
Yeah.
it was bad. And for me, being that my dad passed 3 years ago, this was a dad story, and you guys know me and dad stories. They're gonna get me pretty much every time. So
Mhm.
I'll digress, and let's see what Black Girl Marvel thinks.
I was gonna say I'm the same way. I was really close to my dad, and I was really close to my grandmother. So anything that hits with like a father or a grandmother story, like Moana broke me when I first watched it.
Mm.
So because like the connection with her grandmother just tore me to pieces, and and so in this one, that ending really got me when like she finally found uh everything in the basement that shows that he's been tracking her life, that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he finds out that he literally left because he was literally trying to protect not only her but the world. um
Yeah.
and her seeing all the pictures, and then her being able to hug him, like, because I'm
Oh
assuming that's
man.
why
Yeah.
he didn't
That.
move on, because
Jeez.
he needed that embrace.
Right.
And I was like, I looked around like, so what's happening to me? Like,
Yeah.
like why is this happening to me? But anything but like McKenna Grace is in, I enjoy her. I really feel like somebody's like giving her pills to keep her small. Cause I'm pretty sure I've been watching her for like
She's
10
been the same
years.
age. Like, yeah,
And
yeah.
she's a Simpsons character. She has not aged like at all. Um,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed her character because her character was like awkward, but like in a way that she knew she was awkward, so it was okay. You
Hmm.
know, like he was like, "How are you not freaking out?" She was like, "Oh, I am. I just show it differently." You know
Yeah.
what I
No,
mean?
I
Like, and I
thrive
She's
in
love
those
very,
that.
very
situations. She
self-aware.
says, I was so jealous. I'm like, I
No,
want to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thrive under pressure.
she's
She's so
like,
funny.
I show it just a little differently, and I'm just like, I love that because I show emotion different too, and it's weird. And I was like, I have a little bit of her, she's a little bit of me, and like I could see
Uh,
myself in that. I
Also,
do
people seem to
enjoy,
like underestimate her. Like Paul Rudd underestimated her at first,
yeah,
and she's like,
and then
"Yeah,
realize
I
how
know what a
smart she was.
seismic stuff
Like,
is." Like, yeah, yeah,
yeah, like he was just like, oh, okay, smarty, well, how about this? And she's like, I'm
yeah,
not dumb. I'm like, all right.
yeah.
But I like, I just like that it was. I like the dynamic of the family. I like, she was like, don't be yourself. Like
Mhm.
that is just like little things like that with families. Like
Right.
I kind of talk to my mom like that. I'm like, my mom literally called me a nerd today, and I was like, yeah, because
Yeah.
that's who
Yeah.
I am.
Uh huh.
And so I I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I love the family dynamic. I love the references to the first one because I felt like if you are a Ghostbuster fan, you can like, and you can like really really enjoy this. If you aren't a Ghostbuster
Mm-hmm.
fan, it might make you one, right? And I feel like that's what
Yeah.
all good
Mhm.
continuations of movies should do. It should make you want to go back and revisit that first one, especially with them showing like
Hmm.
stock footage from like and putting it on YouTube,
Yeah.
which is genius. Like showing
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
actual footage from the films and stuff was great. Um, I did read that like his son and I think one other person filled in as body doubles for his
Hmm.
father, and they also used actual images from the film, like from the
Well,
previous films, to make up his face,
real
as
quick,
opposed to like aging him,
on
like
that note,
like aging him.
when they show him hugging his
Uh huh.
daughter in that scene for just a moment, that I
Yeah.
swear they took a shot right out of As Good as It Gets when he hugs Helen Hunt, because I swear it's the same exact shot, and they used mocap on his image in that
It's
movie.
possible.
Oh,
I
it's totally
swear
possible.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
go
possible.
watch that scene.
I wouldn't even put it past it. I wouldn't even put
Mhm.
it past it. But I love. Okay, so like the part where like she shoots Olivia Wilde in the face because, like I said, I was like, "Ooh, Olivia Wilde is in this.
Yeah.
Come on now."
Yeah, that blew me away. I
Um,
didn't expect that.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I love
Totally.
it because if you look at the original film, she don't look too far off from old girl. Like they picked the perfect
Yeah.
person to
I
play
know.
Gozer in this one, like perfect person. But it was the scene where like Phoebe like smacks her in the face with the gun, and she looks back, and then she's trying to win her over, and then you see the hand cup her hands. And when I saw the hands, I knew immediately there was Egon, and I immediately started like
Yeah.
bawling like a baby, and I was just
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, it's just like so good.
Yeah. It's pretty
Um,
good.
like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. The only thing I didn't like, well, two things I didn't like. I didn't like all them kids in the movie. I was like, they're unnecessary. But thanks for the paychecks, I guess, for the children. Um, because the only person we cared about was Lucky. We didn't need these extra children to be like with them, like maybe
Right.
like one or two, but we didn't. I felt like it was just too much for
You're
me.
not talking about
And
the
then the
core
second
group.
thing
You're
I
talking
didn't like
about
was
her friends, right?
yeah, her
Okay.
friends.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't care for her friends.
yeah.
No, 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 no. Because that little boy podcast might be the
Podcast,
best
dude.
Podcast,
fucking character
yeah. Podcast.
of like
It's my hero.
top five
Yeah,
characters, man, like of
that's
all
pretty
time.
good. Mm-hmm.
Because essentially all they did was recreate the Ghostbusters in this film. Like
I noticed that.
Right.
obviously, Phoebe was
Mm-hmm.
Egon, and then like Lucky
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
Winston. Like they obviously her brother was Venkman because he ain't
Right.
know nothing, but he knew he
Right.
could take
But he was the
directions
ladies'
well. You
man.
know what
He
I
was
mean?
going
Like
for the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
he's a lady.
Right.
Exactly. So like I get what they were doing, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But what I just don't like because they did it in the original, and they kind of made fun of it a little bit in this one at the end when Winston's like, he's telling everybody what everybody else is, and then she's like, well, what are you? And he's like, I'm the sex appeal, right? So like once again, you bring in a person of color, and they
Mm-hmm.
just to bring in a person of color, because Lucky honestly could have been any person, but you wanted to make it seem like that you were recreating the Ghostbusters again, and you
Mm-hmm.
really didn't give her anything. Just like in the originals, you really don't give him nothing either. He's just there to
Yeah.
be like, yo, this is stupid, but let's still do it. Like, like that was
He
his
was the blue collar
character.
worker that they brought
And
on that needed a job in New York, and that was his original
yeah, I know.
role,
And it's
and
just, I
which
wanted,
was good for the
I
first
wanted
film.
more.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I wanted more. And I felt like if you were going to recreate this with like a female person of color, I wanted more. Black girl, I just wanted more. But other than that, those are the only two things I was like, yeah. Other than that,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed where it went. I enjoyed even the kid moment. Sometimes in these films, I'm like, okay, he liked her, I don't care, but it was nice. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Mr. Marvelite.
Okay. I first of all, I love the film. And I'm gonna try not to repeat anything that Black Girl Marvel said.
Lies.
Um, no, going back to something you said, Mr. Snippets, you basically stated that like the the female led Ghostbusters was more like an SNL Ghostbusters, and I've been trying to quantify what it was with that remake, because that's really what it tried to be, was a remake. What bothered me, and it wasn't the female casting at all. I felt like the world just wasn't serious, like it didn't take itself serious enough. Um, I think that team could have done a great job, but I was going back and thinking about it, like every character that appeared in the film, whether it be the guy at the band, the concert, or the people at the historical house, whatever, they were all parodies of people. They I mean, like, how many times do you have to joke about a guy crapping his pants for it to to stop being funny? Well, we found out. And it was like you had SNL characters throughout the film, whereas you had in the Ghostbusters franchise, the original one, they played it a little bit more seriously, and I think that was one of the things where with Afterlife it worked well. The setting was serious. You had this,
Mm-hmm. Right.
this rundown town out where there's this dirt farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you get Dan Aykroyd's character at the point when when Phoebe calls him, um, it's you get more of the how things fell apart, what happened. It was realistic, even though the instances between those characters were hilarious. I mean, Peter Venkman and all of them. I mean, and let's face it, on behalf of the citizens of Ohio, and the ASPCA, and all those things, like that kind of stuff was just like perfect. And that was fan service. But I think like the pointing back to a bigger world beforehand, there was that technology aspect of focusing
Mm-hmm.
on, it stayed true to the concept of being a Ghostbuster. Whereas like the remake really tried to do something completely different, and it didn't take any of what we would have considered science at that, that was based off of the franchise. They redid everything.
Fair.
And I think that's where it faltered and failed. If you would have had like this female like group that they were like they were adjacent, or they picked up where the other team had, because there's a new
Right.
resurgence of ghosts, that would have made more sense. But the world, I couldn't even respect the world that they were in. But I do like the film. I still like to go back and watch the film. It's just I don't it doesn't have that same gravitas for me as the
Mhm.
Ghostbusters film did.
Had they found a way to
Um,
ground it in the original two films, but still be an alternate universe, it might have worked even better. Where they had kept it
exactly.
dark, give the horror rather than the comedy first, because the original Ghostbusters
Right.
is creepy and weird before it's funny, like you're saying. It really is. It's a gross,
Like I
dark
had hope in
film
that first
with
opening
funniness.
intro when you had the guy where like the cup falls off the thing and then you find out it's actually like a
I lost
or
everybody for
that
a
way.
second
Oh,
there. Hold on.
he's gone.
Everything seems to have frozen. Are we good? Are we still alive?
We're here. I do not know what happened. I think my internet just took a big
I
hiccup.
think we're back.
Go ahead.
Are we still? Are we going?
We're back. Go
Okay.
ahead.
His internet's drunk.
Well, I see you and I don't. Oh,
Mhm.
there we are. Okay. Okay. So like, yeah, I think that would have worked. But I mean, when you have like a ghost dance party in Times Square and all of these, like it just talk about movies that kind of pull you out. That movie pulled me out a lot.
That's why I
The
don't like the
pterodactyls
3D.
on
Like
the
it goes out
ghost and
here in the screen where you can like, what the hell?
yeah, like that was like like that's like pixels. Like I like Pixels, the movie Pixels, but it takes
Mhm.
you out of reality. Like
Right.
you have to realize that this is just a big joke.
Mhm.
And that's what I felt like with it. McCarthy fan,
And my
like
internet is
it
freaking
could have
out.
still worked pretty well. Um,
Snitty. What happened? I think it's good.
It's you
are we
guys
good?
keep disappearing on me. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I'm
It's driving me
talking. The
nuts.
power.
So
Okay,
okay, I think we're here anyway.
Mhm.
but
I mean,
Overall, you liked it.
so Afterlife, I loved it. Yeah, I did, and I thought it. I don't think it paid fan service. I think what it did it was it just picked up from like the story from before. I think the end scene where you had them together, that was the fan service. I don't think it was necessary, but it was very satisfying with Harold Ramis's character. With the way they paid homage to him, and
The way that
I think
Winston looks at him is
that made a lot
so
of
great.
sense. So
I love when Winston looks
yeah,
over at him
yeah,
like,
like
Yeah.
because it's reminiscent of the way he looks in two, where he's confused about things, and especially down in the subway. So
so
they're like,
another reference, huh?
that's a very
Uh-huh.
subtle. I don't think it's a reference. It's much more that I'm a fan and can see that Ernie did a
It's
great
still a
job.
reference, sir.
And I got to meet that guy. Ernie
It's
Hudson
still a
was
reference.
very interesting to meet. That guy has hands that are about this, like compared to mine, is ridiculous. Like wrapped around my hands. Anyway, big guy.
yeah,
Um,
and
what I thought was really, really amazing, and this is something that
Oh,
so
that
few
southern black
films can
man
do.
hands. That's what they call it.
So few films can make you feel something when they're trying to, right? Most movies, of course, all the directors and the movies are trying to make you feel something.
Yeah.
That's of course, but there are specific things these films are trying to make you feel. And in this one, they wanted us to feel like Harold Ramis was with us. And damn, did they do that. He was literally there in spirit through the whole film,
Yeah,
Mhm.
moving shit around. And I was like, dude, Harold is
yeah.
watching this
literally,
with me. This is ridiculous. It felt like he was really there. And so with that little bit at the end for Harold, I
Mhm.
I'm literally just waterfall, like could not stop crying.
Yeah.
I think my favorite little joke in the whole film was she was like, "How did you build this?" And he like turns the lamp at all of his 100 degrees. I love that
Like,
scene.
oh, so you're a
Yeah.
genius.
Right.
Oh, that's right, genius. That's right,
Okay,
genius.
that makes perfect
So
sense. You're a
Oh,
genius. All right.
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like you can feel the same jokiness,
Can
the
I say,
weirdness
can I
of
touch on
Egon.
like what
You know,
Mr. Marvelite was talking about?
please.
Can I touch on what Mr. Marvelite was talking about the all ladies led the Feige or Feige, sorry Feige, Feige. Oh, I love Marvel.
Go ahead.
Like I'm kind of like Mr. Marvelite, where I kind of go back and forth. Like I go back and watch it sometimes. Like I'll just be in the mood to watch it. Like something will be like, go watch that one Ghostbusters film, and I'll be like, all right, and I'll go watch it. And for me, what took me out of that film is everyone's specific brand of comedy is on display at its highest, and it's terrible. Like it falls flat to me. Like um like Kristen Wiig is very Kristen Wiig. Melissa McCarthy is very, you know what I mean. Leslie Jones is very like everybody is very these like
They're
characters they
caricatures of
created in their
themselves.
past, right?
The
Of
power of Betty
themselves,
compels you.
and it's like it's one of those things where it's like I enjoy some aspects of the film, but I feel like if you're going, it's to me it's the Ryan Reynolds effect. It's like if you gonna be right, if you're gonna be this person and everything you do, it better hit and I
Mhm.
better enjoy it. If not, it's going to be trash. And I feel like
It's just going to be Red
that was
Notice
the issue with that version.
Or
Yeah,
R.I.P.D.
or
yeah,
IPD. Yes.
yeah. Or Detective Pikachu or whatever you want. You know
Whoa,
what I mean? It's just like
whoa,
so.
whoa,
Listen,
whoa! Hold on a minute.
Oh,
listen. I
pump
meant
the
his.
hate brakes there,
I
Black Girl
meant
Marvel.
wait. I meant his brand of comedy. I own that film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But he's very Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. Like you,
Say,
I'm
didn't
gonna
we
die on that
review
hill.
that movie?
But it
You and I?
worked.
Or is Ryan Reynolds very Pikachu?
No, no, because Pikachu don't talk. So no, he's very Ryan
Right.
Reynolds. Um,
Do you
and
know anything
Pikachu
about the
has a
Detective Pikachu storyline?
very higher pitched voice. That's all I'm saying. No, I don't, but I'm pretty sure he don't sound like Ryan Reynolds. But like I was saying, I was saying,
Now, if you had a universal
I'm just
translator,
saying.
do you know that he wouldn't sound like Ryan Reynolds?
Yes, I do. Yes, because I can see into
just
the future.
just
That's the one.
done. Just done.
That's not what he sounds like. No, no. Any other version, he sounds like it, but in our universe, no, he just doesn't sound like it. But Afterlife was great. Like, I believe Ray brought up the apology, like everybody's apologies, being like, sorry I didn't call, sorry I didn't do this, like
Right.
should have reached out more, sorry I didn't listen, sorry I thought you were just crazy. But I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like that apology was just like everybody, including Egon, needs that closure, and I felt like that was just like great. Especially when you find out that they all fell off and everybody went their separate ways, and for them to finally come back in this instance because they were like, his family needs us, essentially. Because I mean, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure they would have still came back, but I felt like her throwing it at the end that Egon is her grandfather did something.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying, to Ray's
Hmm.
character. So I like that a little bit too. Also, no disrespect to the dude, but like, I'm still on the phone. You just gonna hang up like that? Like, like she's a child. Like, calm down. I was so mad when he was like, "Time's up." I was like, "Wait a, okay, I guess." I was so mad. Like, I was so mad.
The townsfolk kind of sucked. It was interesting the way that they approached the Paul Rudd character, as
They
all the movie
assembled
things was
fast though
saying.
for her once she said she was Egon.
Oh yeah.
No, they did.
But all the movie things was talking about the Paul Rudd character and how he was kind of us, and I thought it was interesting because in a way the story was kind of us too, because there was nothing after 92 when they made, or 89 when they made Ghostbusters 2, and it's been that long since we've heard a ghost story from this
Right.
universe, so it's like kind of meta in that way, which I thought was really neat. I loved the Stay Puffs, but I didn't understand them, like their motivation. Why did they remember the Ghostbusters, and why were they pseudo good this time? Like
They were ghosts. They were just causing.
they were a lot of the ghosts that came out of the pit, because I know that the
They
Muncher
were
was the
there
one that you
before
see
you
get
joined
out
us.
of the
Preventing
pit
They're
when
kind
they're
of
on the mountain. Like that's the Muncher that gets out. That's what I figured,
Hmm.
yeah. The initial one. Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it's
I
the only
think the
ghost
Stay
in
Puft
town.
was
Otherwise,
just like maybe a manifestation of like mini ghosts, and they just came as a Stay Puft because it was a Stay Puft picture on the building, so the town knew about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So I think it was just like a manifestation. Plus, I think that was like fan service, and I was okay
yeah.
with that. But I also loved it when the three when the three Marshmallow Men were against the glass when the Ghostbusters showed up and they were like they're like super excited. I was like, I want one. They're so cute. I was like,
Now,
they're
Well,
so cute.
it's almost like they recognize them because it's
right.
like
Yeah.
essentially bringing the essence of you know the the destructor back, but there is no massive element of marshmallow. It's just manifested on these little tiny
They
marshmallow
they might have
packets.
So
they
yeah.
might have hoped that their coming back would have meant that they were going to be big again.
That might have
Right,
been. I
right?
like
They're
that. I
like,
like that
Yeah.
connection.
That's
oh,
a
is
funny
Ghost are
idea.
going
And
to
they
make us
came
big
back and
again?
they
Yeah,
came
yeah.
back.
They're like,
Yeah, they
Yeah.
came
oh,
back in a. They
like
came
here
back
we
as little
go.
minis.
Yeah, yeah,
Mini stuff. Mini stuff. Is what I
I'm
call them.
sorry.
yeah.
What cracks me up still is when Zool, when you have the gatekeeper, the keymaster come back together. Like I
Yeah.
loved when Rick Moranis did it with Sigourney Weaver. But when you got Paul Rudd, and there's like, I like your, what was it? I like
your eyes.
and the other was like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," and he's like, thank you. It was just like, it was stupidly funny. I loved it.
I liked the mom. There is no mom. There was only Zool. And then I for a minute when they had the kids up on the mountain, I thought it was going to be Lucky and the brother that were actually going to be the gatekeeper. I actually thought that was the direction they were going to go, but no, I thought that would have been more interesting. I did like the approach of trying to use a trap on one of the creatures to see what would happen. I thought that was unique and fun, kind of a different approach. The only scene that kind of took me out of the whole film was the scene of the car through the town and shooting all the stuff. Became very Fast and the Furious runway for me. It was a little long on the they were doing 60 and 70 miles an hour, which those kind of tropes drive me nuts. I'm like, slow it down. One, she's hanging out of the car, go 40, show 40 on the speedometer, not 60. And you're in a tiny little town that's going to disappear in 4 blocks. So you did not drive. It took me out because my logic kicked in, I guess, which shouldn't. But I did love the initial turning on.
I mean, they're not riding on horses, for Christ's sake.
No, that's fair. But I did love the I did love the initial, use of the back of the pack. And they're out there with podcast. And podcast, we haven't even talked about him getting to get the marshmallowed thing at the end was also fantastic. A little throwback.
Right. Yeah.
But that kid did a great job. Him and McKenna Grace
tied
both.
it into.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I like how they tied it into 1984, where you find out that the steel for the building in New York would provide like I like that tie-in. They made it realistic. Like this was the backup plan if New York didn't work out.
Also, what a random cameo.
Oh, I love that. Ivo Shandor's cameo.
The architect. For Shandor. Yeah.
When I saw Shandor in that movie first started, I was like, "Oh gosh, Shandor, this is amazing!"
Listen, she ripped him to pieces. Listen, you never, whenever you are whenever I forget the name of the person, but whenever you are when you love a deity and you try to bring that deity back, they always kill you. They always kill when you're the acolyte of a deity, they always kill you. They'd be like, "Yeah, appreciate that." Click.
I love you to death.
Yeah, you did your job. Thanks. You're not you're out of my way.
We also forget. There was a video game that they put in canon to the Ghostbusters, which kind of played on the Gozer stuff as well.
Right.
And it didn't take away from this movie at all, I don't think. But it also gave that concept of, they were really successful, but then things started coming sparse. And you think about they were even in the game, you were going back and you were dealing with things from the past, like the librarian and stuff like that. It kind of all built up, and you just have this this concept. But I also loved how was it Muncher? Like they used Muncher to their advantage. Getting the stuff out of containment. Like it was that was.
I have a plan.
Love that kid. I love him. He's like I have a plan every time. And this time it actually worked. Last time it sucked.
He got so lucky that it worked. It's so funny.
And his one.
Why do you call yourself podcast? Well, everybody calls me podcast because I call myself podcast because of my podcast. I was like, oh, this is self-referential to us.
The fact that, and I love that I feel like it made perfect sense that Ray was his only subscriber, because Ray would listen to a podcast like that or a show like that or something like that.
Right.
That was right up Ray's alley.
It really found itself in episode 15.
You're my one subscriber. I was just like, that's beautiful. Yes, I am your subscriber. This is so great.
Yeah, and he even said, after the 46th episode, it really
found it. It really found its voice. It found its voice.
Right. The after credit scene is amazing. I don't want to mention it. I want to leave that for anybody who may not have seen it yet. But I thought that was great, and it answers a fundamental question about where things go, and I liked that.
Right.
And of course, someone earlier in the chat said that they wish they would have had an Oscar cameo.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see that, but
that would have made sense. Right.
Or Rick. Would have been nice to see Rick Moranis in a movie for once.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I read that Dan Aykroyd said that him and the other two guys are game for coming back for more. If they're still alive. He literally said that if they're still
Well,
alive.
Well,
if you
Bill
look,
Murray and Dan
Still
Aykroyd really had
alive.
a falling out for a while.
right.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
If you look though, this is made by the Ghost Corpse, which is a production company specifically designed
Mhm.
around this, which was what made the 2016 film. And if you look, all the original actors and producers produced the 2016 film as well. So they got that's why when people were mad, I'm like, that all the originals signed off on all of this, right? They're like their
Yeah,
names are on all of
yeah,
this.
exactly.
And people are like, but
I mean,
I'm
they
like,
all made cameos in
they,
that
like
one too.
they
It's
made the
like,
movie, and so
Yeah.
Bill
I
Murray
believe
really
based
had
upon
problems with
everything
it,
we
though.
know that we're going to see more of this, and I don't want to see the original Ghostbusters their old hat now. It's great. I got to see them one more time. I want to see this new crew. I want to see what they can do, and I want to see
Honestly, I
McKenna
wouldn't
Grace
mind
grow
them
into it.
being in a. I wouldn't mind them being in like a mentorship type of thing. 'Cause
Sure.
obviously, Winston is the money. Winston's the money for everybody. It seems like
No,
he's paying
they're
for racing.
this
He
is
has money,
Batman
so
Begins
I wouldn't
now, or not
mind.
Batman Begins, Batman Beyond.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't
Right.
mind. I wouldn't mind seeing them in that type of capacity, especially since he took the Ecto one back, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna like clean that up, make it look like brand new and
Mhm.
shiny and beautiful again.
So
And
make it hover.
we know that ghosts are essentially back in a way. So
But
Yeah.
are
I
they?
And you know that
Oh well,
they
no,
can have
they
like
are.
a 4 on the.
you just love to fight me. That's
Now, do you guys like the new emblem that they showed at the end?
I'm not new. It's a new generation, new emblem. I'm not mad at it.
Right.
It's essential. I mean, I'll just say what it is because I guess it's a spoiler. A spoiler. Here, I said it. But being that it's the little tiny Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the anti Ghostbusters symbol, I love it. I think that was cute and fun, and I would love to see that on the side of the car.
Oh yeah.
That's just me.
I'm gonna find
Mm.
some Stay Puft Marshmallow paraphernalia. I need it. I need it. I need a little marshmallow baby. I need one so
They have a bunch of little Funko Pops of the little
bad.
marshmallows. Yeah,
Yeah,
Don't
they
forget
do.
we
That's
they're
love
awesome.
like
They've
you.
got
they're
one where
tiny.
it's like toasting itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, listen, that whole
With
scene
like
when
matches.
they were
Yeah.
like at the store and they were riding like the Roomba and that they were melting the chocolate on one
It's
and
so
then blew up one in the
That was a dark scene,
blender. I was cracking up. That's all because they were like killing like he skewered two of them and then moved them over to the flame. I was
and they
like,
were
this is
laughing about it.
You
It
know.
felt very Gremlins to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was kind of a
yeah.
darkness, and the movie had a kind of a
Yeah.
Goonies feel. It
Totally
had
did.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
'80s kid adventure film,
Yeah. Mhm.
which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't say enough good about this movie.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
Really.
it.
awesome.
Like I said, if
Mhm.
we have more, they continue more on this, I need them to flesh out the Lucky character. I need them to show us like who she is, if she has more to her than just being a pretty girl that he likes. And I don't know.
She definitely likes to
I need
razz
to
him.
go a little further. We obviously already know who. Yeah, no, she does, and I'm cool
Mhm.
with that because that's what we do. Okay, obviously in this group, that's who I am. But I would want more. Like if you're gonna have her be, because you literally put her in a Ghostbusters uniform. I need more. You know what I mean? Like if you're
Mhm.
gonna
All
put
right.
her in this jumpsuit, I just need a little bit more. So
That's fair.
that's
We
all.
are at this point, unfortunately, out of time. So unless you guys have anything else pressing to say about Ghostbusters, we are
Are
going to do a quick
we
rating
talking about
and
who?
talking about who, what.
Or is it?
Oh, we never
Are we
did we?
talking
Yeah,
about
I can't
who
believe we
passed?
never mentioned that. We were going to mention the
You want to
trifecta
do the
of
rating first, and then we'll do that.
celebrities that we lost this week. Go ahead. Yeah, we can. Let's do the rating, and
Mhm.
then we can wish our best wishes to those.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be I'm gonna be I'm gonna be Mr. Snippet. Mr. Snippet. So Mr. Snippet, tell us what is your rating for Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, this is a 9 all day long. The only reason it can't be a 10 is I think just by rule it's a sequel, so it just can't bring itself to be the original. But as far as a remake will,
Mhm.
9.
Remakeable. Stop
Mhm.
it. I just thought it was a continuation in a way. Mr. Marvelite, what would you rate Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I'm gonna say a 9. It's a fantastic film. I love the energy. I love the respect to the previous franchise. I'm looking forward to something something more, and I think it's a great way to introduce new characters. So yeah.
All the movie things.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 9. Like, I mean, but like everyone said, like can't really say enough good about this film. It's just, I mean, if like it was, it had all these great serious moments. It was funny, where it needed to be, but then like, and then it gives you like this, hits you in the gut, with this emotion at, all of a sudden. I mean, yeah, yeah.
I would rate this film a 9. It's gonna be a 9 across the board.
All right.
Because
That's
I
rare.
cried. If
Yeah.
you make me cry, I mean,
Right.
you kind of up there in the points if you make me
Mm.
cry. So yeah,
Mhm.
this gets a 9. It was just great. It was honestly, I said it to Janine in the chat. This was Ghostbusters: The Force Awakens. You kind of literally retold the first Ghostbusters, but you did it for a new generation, and you added in
Hmm.
elements that could continue
Some
the
fun,
story.
yeah, some fun new stuff, and yeah,
Pretty
Some
popular
fun
to
new
do
stuff
that these days.
mixed in with the
yeah.
old. It is.
Yeah,
It's mixed
except
in with
Right.
the old, and I cried. So you get and I enjoyed the
Hmm.
Force Awakens hard. So
Yeah.
get a 9.
Mr. Marvelite's gonna trash on the
When they
Matrix. You
killed
watch.
Han Solo.
Whoa!
Right.
I was gonna say something about the
Oh,
Matrix, and all of a sudden,
yeah, I knew you were.
Oh.
yeah,
Let's not forget. There's
Ghostbusters
something we did
Afterlife was
forget.
everything that Matrix should have been.
We did forget one thing before we do our raid, and that is all of the amazing mechanic race puns. What do you got to call a fish with no eyes? Loved all of those jokes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fudge.
The hamster cigarette joke is my favorite, though.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
no, no.
Absolutely love the hamster
Well, and her
All her
cigarette joke.
delivery
jokes
is
were
so great
hilarious.
too. It's just this deadpan delivery, like she has no
Yeah.
reaction. Like she,
I
Except for
love
the
the
wink, right?
what's the first joke she made?
yeah, yeah,
It was
The
the
first
it was
joke she
the
made was
earthquake
to the
joke.
boy.
yeah.
No,
I,
not that one. The one
No,
she
it was a
made to her
math
friend
joke, wasn't it?
the first time.
Isn't
oh yeah,
that
it was a
being
geometry
obtuse?
joke. Being obtuse.
Oh
That's right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Geometry joke.
So the
Me too.
joke that she made, the first joke that she made to her friend, and he
Terrible.
kind of paused and he bust out laughing. It was like the first time somebody has ever laughed at her joke, and she was like,
Right. Yeah,
"Huh, this
yeah,
guy
yeah.
gets me. Like he gets me.
Yeah.
We're friends." Like So because the fact that she said my
That's
friend,
cool.
I think meant a
Hmm.
lot to everybody. Because he was like, "You got a friend?" Like, yeah, bro.
Yeah.
You should be. Like, whatever.
I want podcast to get his own movie. Anyway,
I know.
Or a
Or his
podcast?
own podcast.
I
Yeah.
was
or his own
just about to
podcast,
say
like a
that.
real
Or a
podcast.
Hey,
podcast.
we're in the year
Yeah.
where everybody has a
Briefly.
podcast now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Smitty, who were the 3 artists that we lost this week?
So this week we lost the great and wonderful Betty White. We also lost Sidney Poitier, who was 95, and then tonight we lost Bob Saget at 65, which I don't think anybody was expecting, but for whatever reason they come in threes. So
Yeah. It's 65.
that one
Well,
shocked me. How do you guys feel about
Well,
all of this?
I guess. Well, there was another. There was another also.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm
Stephen
forgetting
Ford.
people.
Yeah.
Who else passed? We don't. Oh, this is sad. We don't need to
Um,
end the show on such a sad note. But at the same time, these are some
he's not
greats.
as
You know.
like. I feel like he's not as known, but
I don't want to leave people. I don't want to leave people out. That's so sad. That's
Peter Bogdanovich.
Yep.
That's right, Peter Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
And I know this
And
name.
he was a
I just
director, and
yes. Oh
yeah.
man,
Yeah, he was
Paper
there.
Moon.
it's sad because I think of him as from How I Met
Yeah.
Your Mother. That's the very last thing I think of him from, where he talks about he does the the Willem Dafoe joke. It's what sticks to my head. But anyway, that's terrible.
Oh,
We're gonna raid
real
the
quick
Raven.
Before we end,
Sure.
wait. Before we end, real quick, I just had a thought in my head, and I always think about this. You know how like how we say like movies repeat themselves, like trends repeat themselves, things like that come back around like in our lifetime, they always come back around. I feel like
Yeah.
people do that, or like the essence of people, or like talent comes around, because I think sometime last year we lost Stephen Sondheim, and he was known as one of the greatest like
Mhm.
composers of all time, right? But then you turn around and we got Lin Manuel Miranda, and I feel like he's on the track of being like one of the greatest of all time too, right? Like I feel like I just think it's crazy how the universe works. Like
Right.
I watch a TV show called Legacies all the time, And when they talk about magic, they always say that like magic finds a loophole or magic finds a way to like fix something or to like if you lose something, magic will find a way to like plug that hole or something like that. And I feel like losing Stephen Sondheim, we've lost like a great mind for like composition and music and things like that. But magic, but it found a way and it gave us like Lin Manuel Miranda. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where my brain kind of went.
How ironic too that he did Tick Tick Boom, which Sondheim is like, you know, the character of Sondheim is in that film,
and it's in that film, so it's just it's
that's
so
how it
crazy.
seems to work though.
That just popped in my head. I was like, I always feel like when we lose something, we also gain something at the same time.
This just reminded me of something. I just want to kind of say this because I know I didn't mention what we were talking about.
You see how he copies me? I don't get it.
No. You said Lin Manuel Miranda. That's the only thing that's gonna be like similar to this. During Encanto, like you'll see a lot of stuff on TikTok with Encanto where people are trying to say that, you know, they're a little bit upset that John Leguizamo did the Bruno character because they think that Lin Manuel Miranda wrote the song, like wrote Bruno for himself, and that's. I want to be very careful that no one is. Lin Manuel Miranda has not come out and said that. You know, that's not what he said. And in fact, if you think about Lin Manuel Miranda, he writes everything as if he were singing it. That's why that's how he has his
like
style.
his cadence and like,
I don't think that I think people are putting a lot of negative energy on something that is feigned and made up on TikTok, and we need to be very careful to put that type of energy on because I think Lin-Manuel Miranda had a lot to do with the casting of these characters, and I believe that he was completely behind John Leguizamo being as Bruno. So it needs
and he's taken a much more director, producer, writer approach to life right now. Like it's hard to be in the movie too. Like
I mean, he had a great year. He had a great 2021.
All over that.
Yeah.
They didn't ask him to be in Moana either, but he wrote that.
He also said that he writes songs sometimes based on like his family members or things like that or things around him
or his dog.
Like the song he did for Louisa was based off his older sister. So it's like it's just things like that. So I feel like people might see they might see Lin in the music, but it's like it's because he wrote it. Like don't like let's.
So one of my absolute favorite Hamilton songs.
Disney already hired the guy. If they wanted him in it, they would have had him in it.
One of my favorite Hamilton songs is the one where he's singing about his daughter or his son for the first time. And Lin didn't have kids when he wrote that, or I don't even know if he still does, but he was like, yeah, I sang about my dog because it's what helped me connect and find love. And I was like, well, it worked because as a parent, I related to that song really, really well. Totally. So he does find his inspiration in really wonderful ways. Yeah, this is true. On that note, and on the Pope note, we're going to go ahead and move to a raid. I'm going to hit it now. We're going to be raiding the Raven Armed as we always do. Everybody. And yes, this has been the Real Study week number 15. Next week is anniversary week, and we'll be talking about the movies later. That did not happen. The raid did not happen. Let me try again.
Anniversary paper. That's paper, right?
Everybody give us money. You didn't put at. You didn't put the at, Smitty.
Really?
Yeah. It's paper. Everybody give us money. Cash App. It helps the stream.
All right, so we're redeeming the room. Is that what it is now?
Right. That's what.
Oh no, that's going to take 100 subscriptions. I won't watch that movie until I get 100 subscriptions. Simultaneous subscriptions, by the way. Got it. That's a lot of subscriptions. Good luck. On that note, you guys have a wonderful night, and we are
never happen. Bye guys.
Bye.